Yo, what is up, everybody? Your boy Sir Esco back again with another short horror story for you guys. This one is titled The Grave Crawlers, written by Old School Horror. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to them, like, comment, and subscribe. I reached the gates of Whispering Pine Cemetery, but had to stop because my lungs were burning. The hot air outside made my life considerably harder as it dried my mouth and throat mercilessly. My pursuers were not far away, so I had a choice to make. Time was of the essence. I could either continue running or jump the fence to the realm of the dead. Looking to my right, I saw far away the torches of the mob, which was hell-bent on capturing and punishing me. The thievery I had committed was out of the utmost necessity. I still hate myself to this day as I'm writing these pages for that unlawful act. But my punishment had been greater than that which any mob could have inflicted upon me. For what I've experienced that night exceeds the most hellish punishments or nightmares any mind could comprehend. With aching muscles, I struggled to climb the fence. The mob was closing in. I heard their furious shouts. I jumped down on the other side, then hid behind a large gravestone several yards away. They turned onto the street with the cemetery, and just when I thought they'd passed by, they stopped. My heart was beating like the drums of war, and I was struggling to keep my rapid breathing from uttering any accidental sounds. They were arguing outside the fence. Their voices were full of venom, rage. They were eager to capture me. I was praying to God to save me. To my knowledge, nobody had seen my face, so I had a chance to escape. I thought if I could just survive the night without being caught, I could go back to my family. The money I've stolen, I could then help find treatment for my dear daughter, who was in dire need of it. The arguing reached an end, and the mob decided to split up in order to increase their chances of finding me. I sighed in relief, thank God for his mercy. Had they chosen to enter the cemetery, I would have had no chance. Now looking back, I know it was not mercy from God, rather a punishment for my grave sin. I waited until the raging mass of people dispersed and tried to figure out my next steps. One thing was certain, I could not leave this place. Not soon, that is. I was trapped in that garden of the dead with only ghosts for company. Or so I thought. This place bore an ominous feel to it. I sensed it after my heart and lungs calmed down. The smell of dried grass and dust accentuated the thirst I was feeling. Could have killed for a glass of cold water. Could even drink from a dirty puddle. The smell of coming rain began drifting on the wind. This was welcome at first, as the cooling air brought a much-needed relief. The prospect of rain was alarming. I looked to the sky through the pine branches and saw the moon fade behind the amassing clouds, then turned my gaze to the dark shape, which was looming in the distance like an everlasting curse. It was the house of the former caretaker and mortician Mortimer Blackwell. He had died before my birth, but his infamy has spread all across New England. Rumors say he had experimented with dark magic, and he had committed unspeakable evils in that very house. Nobody had the courage to go inside that edifice of conjuring and death. His entire family had perished in the mysterious circumstances after his death. So did subsequent buyers of the house. And after nobody was willing to buy it anymore, it stood derelict. Whatever was hiding inside was watching over the cemetery. I shuddered as these thoughts ran through my mind. Then thunder rumbled nearby. The sky was full of mounting fury, ready to unleash upon the land. I had to find shelter. There was no other option but the accursed house. Outside, members of the mob still walking about relentlessly. I had a feeling that they tried to avoid this place. No sane soul in Harper's Ridge would enter it after nightfall. The awful history of the Blackwell house was keeping people out. Yet, I was inside Whispering Pines, forced to enter the dreaded ruin. So, I gathered my courage and headed toward the Blackwell house, which was several hundred yards away, the gate. I kept convincing myself that if I only stay on the porch outside, everything will be fine. I thought it would be a miserable night. The temperature outside dropped, but being the end of summer, I could survive that. There was nothing which could have prepared me for the things I was about to experience. After a cautious walk among tombstones and pines, I reached the rotting corpse of the Blackwell house. The steps leading to the porch were made of stone, just like the stone of the graves in the cemetery. I hesitated to put my foot on the first step leading to this monument of Erebus, the primordial darkness. But as drops of rain began falling, I took the step with trembling feet. I went to the porch, which used to be covered, but the shingles and woodwork lay in pieces on the mossy stone below my feet. Maybe I will stay in the rain, I thought. The prospect of going inside became ever more frightening. I looked toward the front door, but I saw only darkness. The clouds above blocked almost all moonlight. Fortunately, I remembered I had a few matches in my pocket. As I was fumbling for them, I heard a branch snap from down between the graves. I stopped, listened. Then came something similar to an owl's hoot, but it was sickly. A sound I did not recognize. It was deep and distorted. I turned, but saw nothing. Then another strange hoot sounded, this time from another direction. This one was slightly different, but still definitely not made by an owl, nor any other nocturnal bird. A long pause followed. I did not move for several seconds, but then resumed my search for the matches. Finally, I found them. I took the small matchbox in my hand and opened it. I felt I have only a few pieces left in the box. Providence were surely not on my side. I lit one, then I recoiled in horror. 2 yards away, between the graves, I saw a figure move. A gasp escaped my mouth as I tried not to scream with fright. It was only a fleeting moment, but I undoubtedly saw a humanoid shape crawling on all fours, then disappearing in the shrubbery. The match was quickly burning down, so I threw it away, took out another one. I lit it and tried to look around. The light was meager. The fire was almost touching my finger when I pointed the match to the grave where I saw a figure hide. A pair of bright yellow eyes disappeared behind the stone as the light fell upon it. Something was lurking between the graves. There was no doubt in my mind about it. I was trying to convince myself that it was only an animal, but its movements were unlike that of any creature I knew. Match burned my finger, so I dropped it. Then I heard rustling. Something was coming from the direction of the grave. I took several steps back, but heard the thing approach the darkness. It uttered a menacing but unrecognizable sound as it closed on me. Meanwhile, the falling droplets transformed into rain, and the ramshackle porch roof above provided little protection. I dreaded the thought of entering the accursed house, but I dreaded more the creature a few steps in front of me. With a pounding heart, I turned and ran toward the blackness where the front door of the house was supposed to be. That thing bolted after me, but I reached the door just in time. My hand instinctively found the latch, and I opened it, stepped in, and closed it before the creature could catch me. I heard it pace around the door, sniffing, probing. Go away, damn you, I thought while I was gripping the latch with both hands. And finally, it retreated. I sighed, but I was in a worse situation than before. If a thing like that was outside, who can tell what was inside? The smells drifting in the house were the most unnerving and peculiar. I felt as if I stepped inside a crypt, not the ruins of a house. Smell of rats and mold blended with the miasma of the grave, of unearthed bodies left to rot. Everything there reeked of desecration and unholiness. If there was a God, I think he was staying far away from this place. I held the door for some time, anticipating the creature's return, but it did not come back. I was suspecting its intent was to come in through a different entrance to surprise me. After it left, only silence remained. Faint skittering hit my ears. First, it startled me, but then I recognized the sound, that of rats moving around. I lit another match and looked around. Lots of debris lay about the house. few feet away, I noticed a heap of old wood planks. I picked up a thin piece and held it beside the flame. It was dry, but caught fire where the match burned out. By the light of the meager flame, I searched the heap for the plank sturdy enough to prop the door with. To my relief, I found one. After propping the door, I turned with the intent of exploring my surroundings. It was not the prospect of discovery which was fueling me, but the assurance of security. I wanted to see if there was any immediate danger near me, or anything useful. It was clear to me that surviving the night was exceptionally more difficult than I had imagined previously. At least I was sure the mob was not coming after me there. As I walked into the living room, I heard and felt the floorboards creak painfully under my weight. A thick layer of cobwebs and dust covered everything. Rat droppings everywhere. I noticed a large table in the living room, and my heart began pounding after seeing what was on it. An oil lamp enveloped in thick cobwebs lay upon top of it for who knows how long. I paced to the table, took the lamp, and in my hand, I felt right away there was still some oil in it. It was the most welcome find, just like a thirsty man finding water in the desert. Some unfortunate soul who had entered this God-forsaken place must have left it on the table a long time ago. After clearing the cobwebs, I lit it. At first, the light it gave out was faint, but the flame got bigger after several seconds and illuminated the place much better. Weak flame, but thin piece of wood. Now, as the inside of the house was illuminated better, I saw my surroundings more clearly. The floor had several holes in it, and I noticed a large rat climb out of one of the holes. The light visibly confused it, and after staring at me with its beady eyes, it walked away nonchalantly to a dark corner while passing close before me. I turned and followed it with my gaze. Then I looked up after, saw it no more. I gasped when I saw the movement in the corner at a butt eye level. Something was moving there, or maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. Instinctively, I took a step back towards the middle of the living room. The boards below my feet squeaked, but I didn't pay much attention. My eyes were fixed upon the shifting, undulating darkness. Then, to my utmost horror, it came out of the corner and began floating toward me. There was no doubt in me anymore. A haunting presence was there with me. A dark consciousness which had somehow survived the certitude of death was approaching me. As it got closer, I saw it possessed a human shape. But it was as black as the darkest pits of hell. It had no features, only a contour, and it radiated an icy chill. I still don't understand how something could radiate coldness, but that thing certainly did. It was emanating from it, and I felt it drain all the remaining warmth from my body. Then it spoke, but it was no language I understood. It was a strange mumbling which reverberated in my mind like some kind of dark chanting. I took several steps back while my skin was crawling from the icy touch of fear. Then, on my last step, I heard a crack, and I was falling backward into the abyss. I screamed, of course, as the fall came as a surprise. I instinctively clutched the oil lamp close to my body to avoid breaking it. The last thing I wanted to do was set myself alight. I was expecting to hurt myself, but to my surprise, I felt on something really soft. The smell which hit me was atrocious. It was like being locked in a coffin with a rotting corpse for company. Then I looked around and saw what was below me on the basement floor. A pile of bodies in various stages of decomposition, with rats crawling all over them. I threw up right then and there, then scrambled to get up and move as far away from the horrible pile as possible. My incredible luck, the lamp was still burning. I was clutching it like a mother clutch her dear newborn child. I searched for the humanoid darkness which caused me to fall to this mass tomb, but I did not see it. The basement was littered with all kinds of waste. Close to the pile of bodies, I noticed the broken wood planks which had once been coffins. Then I heard rustling from near one of the walls. I looked towards the source in the sound and saw a large hole in the brick wall. Then I saw another few yards away. Rustling became louder. It was as if something were crawling through one of these holes. Then I remembered the strange creature which attacked me outside. I was expecting it to come through one of these holes to resume its attack, so I looked for a way to escape. I saw the remnants of a staircase, which was once leading to the floor above, but its lower part was lying in a pile below it. I had looked towards the hole again as the crawling intensified, and I saw the creature. It stuck its head out, its fiery eyes gleaming with otherworldly radiance. In its mouth, a human hand was dangling. Bluish and rotten, it had most likely ripped it off a cadaver somewhere in the cemetery. When I saw the creature with the hand in its mouth, I realized what that place was. An unholy feeding ground for the monstrosities born of the dark magic and necromancy perpetrated in the Blackwell house. I had no time to ponder more on the subject, however, because in the second hole, another creature appeared. This one had no body part in its mouth. It uttered a screech, which I felt inside my bones. Its mouth opened wide, revealing countless sharp teeth made of rending flesh. Its skin was dark gray, slimy, and covered by soil. The creature had thin, long hands and a large palm adapted to dig tunnels through hard soil and rip coffins apart. My eyes darted around, searching for a way to escape. Both creatures jumped out of the holes, and the first one dropped a hand from its mouth. It fell to the floor with a soggy thud. More creatures followed the first two. That was when I genuinely thought, I will serve as food for these ghouls, just like the bodies I have fallen over. As I was retreating, I turned my head and saw a small opening on the opposite wall. It was a small basement window. I knew right away I had to try it. It was my last and only chance, but with the beast closing in, I doubted I would get out. They approached, trying to encircle me while more came from the holes in the wall. A larger one came through, and when it saw me, it growled menacingly, then jumped into the pile of bodies. Saliva was dripping from its mouth. It must have been their leader. That was when I bolted toward the window. The beast growled and ran after me. I reached the opening with a few steps, but I felt them close. I smashed the lamp into the ground behind me, and the oil spilled and caught fire, blinding the nocturnal creatures for a few seconds. I jumped and grabbed the edge of the opening and pulled myself up. Under normal circumstances, I'm not sure I would have done that feat, but panic made me strong for a few seconds. I almost dragged both my feet up when I felt claws dig into my flesh. The pain was sharp, cutting like a razor blade. I screamed, caring not about who might hear me from the streets outside. At that time, I preferred the people hunting me infinitely more than the ghouls from the abyss. The creature was dragging me down, its claws sunk into my flesh like hooks. I clawed at the stone, trying to overcome the pulling force, but then felt the beast clawing itself up my body. I shrieked as I felt the claws dig into my buttocks and lower back. Then, involuntarily, I struck the window pane, which was already cracked. It broke into several pieces, and I grabbed one shard with my right hand. As the creature made his way up, I stabbed backward behind my ear. It screamed as the shard sunk most likely into its eye. I felt a cold, vicious fluid cover the right side of my face and neck. It reeked of the grave. The monster fell backward, and I no longer felt its weight dragging me down. I then quickly grabbed the rim where the window pane used to be and pulled with all my might. I didn't notice a shard of glass cutting deep into my palm. All I wanted was to get out by any means necessary. I did, but it was not over. I saw the shape of another creature in the opening. Rain fell on me mercilessly, but I did not care. It washed away the putrescent gore, which struck to me when I fell onto the pile in the foul blood of the monster I'd stabbed. In the basement, the fire caused by the broken lamp was already fading. By its dying light, I saw several hideous heads pop up behind the creature, which was already crawling outside. Having no weapons or anything which I could use to defend myself against, I ran towards the cemetery's edge. I heard them behind me as they gave chase. At the last moment, I changed directions with a sudden move. This made one of them crash into a gravestone, which shattered. So I ran, changing directions several times. My body was screaming for me to stop. My lungs were at the end of their capacity, and my heart was bursting out of my chest. Fortunately, I reached the fence. I jumped on it, and in a few moves, I was already at the other side. There was no time to be careful, so I fell on my side in a large puddle of fresh rainwater and gasped desperately for air as my chest was exploding from the effort. I turned on my back and heard the distant shouts of the people who had been chasing me. Rain fell onto my cheeks, and it was the most welcome feeling in the world. No abysmal monster jumped the fence to kill me. Members of the mob reached the place where I fell to the ground. They shouted for the others to come. But then silence came upon them. I sat up and looked between the iron bars toward the darkness of the cemetery. The men screamed in fear, abandoned all prospects of capturing me, then ran in all directions. There, the crepuscular domain of the dead, countless grotesque figures were watching with burning hatred and hunger in their long dead eyes. But whatever ancient curse had awakened them, it also forbade them to step beyond the boundary of their domain. One by one, they faded back into the shadows. They retreated to the house of death, where the frigid ghost, Mortimer Blackwell, was still watching over his children. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our story. Yo, what is up, everybody? Your boy Sir Esco back again. Know it's been a minute. Hopefully y'all been keeping well. Got another horror story for you guys. This one is titled The Cabin, written by MS Grant. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to them. Like, comment, subscribe. The Cabin. I'm writing this so that people will know what happened and what drove me to do what I did. I'm writing this as a warning so that no one else will follow in my footsteps. It began last week. I had recently inherited some money. Not I never have to work again money, but still a good amount. It was from an aunt on my father's side. I had really only ever met her a couple times when I was a kid. I hadn't had any contact with her after my father died when I was in my 20s, even though she was my last living relative. I instantly knew what I wanted to spend it on. I'd always wanted a small cabin in the woods where I could flee the everyday stress, the city, all the shit that we all have to deal with on a daily basis. A place just for me, where I could kick back by the fire and just recharge my batteries. I wouldn't say that I'm an introvert. I just enjoy my own company more than spending time with others. That's all. So, a couple weeks ago, I'm browsing on the internet for cabins not too far away from where I live. My curiosity was piqued by an ad of one of all the websites with houses for sale. A small one-story cabin suited right by a medium-large lake in the middle of the woods. Not another house for miles in any direction, and only about a 2-hour drive from my home. Looked exactly like the cabin I've always wanted in my mind whenever I've been daydreaming about having my own place like that. Now, it did seem a bit run down, but the price was almost too good to be true. I just had to see this place with my own eyes. Curiously enough, even though they've posted an ad on this place online, couldn't seem to find the website for the agency. Only a landline phone number on ad in itself. I called the agency, set up a meeting with their agent. After a few unanswered signals, a man answered. Sounded out of breath, like he had a rush to answer the phone. We decided that I was going to drive up to their office on Tuesday last week and meet up with him. And together, we were going to drive down to the cabin to have a look. So, come Tuesday, I'm super excited all day and feeling good about this place. 2 minutes after I got off work, I'm in my car, typing in the address to the agency, my GPS. Off I go. The office was located in a small town not too far from the cabin, about 30 minutes by car. The town itself was your typical small community with small shops and stores that looked like they had been owned by the same family for generations. A small church, kids playing in their yards with the fallen autumn leaves. Seemed to be quite a peaceful place to live. Typical, everybody knows everybody place. The not so gentle GPS voice abruptly advised me that I was coming up to my destination in a couple minutes. I took a turn and saw the sign for the agency, the other side of the street. I turned my car around at the next intersection, and when I came up to the place, a man was standing outside with a briefcase, constantly checking his watch, clearly waiting for someone to arrive. I parked my car, got out, to go over to the agency, when the man looked over my way. "Ah, you're here for the cabin, right? Cabin by the lake?" Yes, I am." "All right, well, let's get going." He got into his car that was parked down the street and asked me to follow him in my car. I noticed that he seemed a bit stressed, his face a bit pale, with beads of sweat on his forehead, like he was coming down with something. Anyway, we drove out to a small town and was soon driving on twisting and turning small roads to the woods. The trees were exploding in autumn colors, yellow, orange, red. It was mesmerizing, like driving through an oil painting. After driving for about 45 minutes in this gorgeous scenery, the agent's car took a sharp turn down a small dirt road. If you didn't know it was there, you probably never would have seen it. It was overgrown with high grass and was a bumpy ride. Luckily, we only had to drive down it for about 10 minutes. Then, I saw it. The cabin. It was, from what I could see, all what I hoped for, and more. I couldn't wait to go inside and check it out. I was so excited. I parked my car next to his and got out. So, here we are. Indeed. God, what a beautiful place, I whispered to myself while looking around. The cabin was just like in the ad. A small, dark wooden house right next to the lake. The lake itself looked a lot bigger than it did in the small photos that I'd seen. The surroundings were all forest. Everywhere you looked, all you saw were giant, ancient, majestic trees reaching for the skies, now full color. The ground was covered with the fallen leaves, some dancing around in circles, and the mild winds blowing. You really smell the fall air. Soon it would be winter, and I could only imagine how beautiful this place would look, covered in snow. I decided in there I would spend my entire holiday vacation there. Could we have a look? I heard him say, awakening me from my daydreaming. Oh, yes, of course. Show me the way. So, the cabin is old. In fact, we don't know who built it or when. But as long as we have the town record, the cabin has been here. We've been keeping it record for about 140 years. But I honestly think the cabin is much older than that. Now, of course, the cabin has seen a couple different owners over the years, and most of them has modernized the place in some way or another when moving in. For instance, there's running water and indoor bathroom, electricity. There's, however, no landline telephone, and the cell reception out here is sketchy at best. No worries. My plan is to come out here and get away from all this anyway. So that actually just good. Gives me another reason not to check my emails every 5 minutes. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Come on, let's go inside. I didn't say anything, but his sales pitch was unnecessary. I had already made my mind up. I needed this place. It was, however, out of character for me to feel like this. I could easily spend several days browsing through different stores, comparing prices, just for a pair of jeans. Yet, here I was, ready to hand over quite the amount of cash for a cabin I have never set foot in. But somehow, it didn't bother me. It was like I was drawn to it. I needed it. I wanted it. Every fiber in my being telling me so. The front door opened straight into a large living room. In the wall to my right, there was a big stone fireplace, beautifully and masterfully built, with large stones, different forms and sizes, carefully placed like a jigsaw puzzle, framing the fireplace. Opposite to my left was a door to the bedroom. Next to that, the door to the bathroom. I immediately fell even more in love with this place. I was so into that, I at first didn't even reflect over the fact that it was furnished. The bedroom was a cozy little room, a big window overlooking the woods and the dirt road we drove down a couple minutes earlier. The front window, there hung old see-through once white curtains. You know, the ones grandmas always have for some reason. An old sturdy bed stood in the center of the room, complete with madras and bedspreads. If not for all the dust, it looked like someone had just got up from this morning and left it. Next to the bed, there was a small-sized table with a candle holder, covered in old melted sterric. The bathroom was a small place, with just the things you needed: a shower, a toilet, and a sink. You can tell this part was added not too long ago, but still, it looked like it had been there for quite some time. It needed some cleaning, that's for sure. But all in all, it was just fine. On the far side of the living room, there was 3 big windows with an amazing panoramic view of the lake and the surrounding forest. That was about it. The cabin wasn't much more than that, which was perfectly fine by me. I certainly didn't need any more than this. I could already see myself sitting in front of the fire, a glass of scotch, and nothing on my mind. This place was perfect. Yeah, the previous owners left everything behind, it seems, the agent suddenly said. Can't for sure tell you what happened to them. I just know we got a letter from them, including the keys to the cabin, saying they had to move and that we should contact them when the place got sold to wire their money. You keep the furniture if you want, or replace it or whatever. Weird though. I thought, but not unheard of, many people can move in a hurry for any number of reasons. I looked around, and the furniture really did go well with the place. Big, strong wooden tables, leather sofa that looked like it would be really comfy, bookshelves filled with old books, lamps. Really gave the place nice ambiance. I'll probably have to buy a new bed though. I thought, feeling a bit weird about sleeping in some stranger's old bed. I went over to the big windows to take a little look over the amazing view. The last rays of the sun gently kissing the lake and the woods. It was first then that I noticed an opening to my right, on the same side as the fireplace. It led into a small kitchen, which had all the basics. Nothing fancy, but just what you needed. There was also a back door from the kitchen leading out to the backyard, right by the lake. I opened the door and took a step out. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air. It filled my lungs, and I could feel myself growing calm. Slowly, I opened my eyes to the view in front of me, took it all in. It was truly amazing, a little piece of paradise. I drew another lung-filling breath before I stepped back inside, closed the door behind me. I was looking through the drawers and cabinets when I noticed the floor sounded differently in the middle of the kitchen. There was a small carpet there, and when I pushed it away with my foot, it revealed an old hatch underneath. Its hinges blackened by time and neglect. I looked over to the agent who was leaning against the wall, the kitchen entrance. "Oh, go ahead," he said, almost in an excited manner, motioned with his head towards the hatch. Open it, I leaned down and grabbed the handle and pulled the hatch towards me. It creaked and groaned like it hadn't been opened in years. A deep, dark, empty space beneath it stared back at me. I was trying to see what was down there. A steep wooden staircase with questionable stability led down to the darkness. I looked around for a flashlight. Like he was reading my mind, the agent came over, handed one to me. There you go. I always keep one on me whenever I go into the woods. I started to descend down the stairs, with one hand firmly gripping the wall, and the other one holding the flashlight, illuminating the steps in front of me. About 15 steps down, I made it to what looked like a classic dirt cellar. The kind they used to have in old days when you needed somewhere to keep your food from spoiling. You didn't have access to a refrigerator. This dirt cellar, however, was a bit different. It looked like someone had used it as an office of some sort. There was an old desk, 2 big bookshelves along the walls, packed with books of all sizes. What an odd place to put an office, though. I shined the flashlight around the small space and saw that there was an old oil lamp hanging from the hook. I took it down and brought it back with me to the kitchen. I gotta say, I really love this place. But I gotta ask, why the cheap price? Well, to be honest, we've had this place on the market for quite some time now, without any luck. I really don't know why no one else has come along sooner and swooped this beauty up, because as you've seen for yourself, it's a beautiful and well-maintained place. Hell, if I had the money myself, it really is something. You know what? I'll take it. Where do I sign? I didn't think he could possibly smile any wider than he had done this whole time. But when I said I wanted to buy the place, I swear I thought his face would crack from how wide his smile was. Right here, he said while opening his briefcase that had been holding on to his whole time. Tossed it on the kitchen counter and opened the clasps on either side, pulled out a stack of papers. He had the contract drawn up and ready to be signed. Sign here, there, initials there, and there. He looked almost like someone who had 9 out of the 10 lottery numbers down and just wanted for that jackpot number. I put down my last initials and noticed how he was breathing heavily and started to sweat a little. All right, there you go. You're officially a cabin owner. Congratulations. Thank you very much. But what about the money? Oh, there's an account number in there somewhere. Just wire the money when you can. I trust you. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that as soon as I have access to the internet again. Perfect. Well, I've got to go. I have a long drive home and it really gets dark out here. Yeah, me as well. You mean you're not staying here tonight? Oh, no. I have work tomorrow. I need to get some stuff from home before I can stay the night here. I'll probably drive up this weekend to get settled. Oh, I see. He looked almost disappointed. Alright, well, drive safe and don't hesitate to call if you need anything. And with that, he was out the door and within minutes, driving up the dirt road again. I took one last look around. My cabin, I thought. My own cabin. I let out a slight laugh. I couldn't believe it. The sun was just about to disappear behind the trees on the far side of the lake, making the water look almost entirely like it was ablaze. The thick mist was slowly rolling out of the waters, and even though I was inside, I could feel the coldness out there. I turned to leave, and in the distance, I swear I could hear a faint giggle. I stopped in my tracks and listened. Nothing. Must be the house, I thought. Wooden houses make all kinds of weird noises when temperature changes. I shook it off and went out through the front door, locked up, and walked over to my car, drive home. The leaves rustling and crunching beneath my feet. It was completely dark out by now, and I had to take it real easy to find my way out the main road again. Quietly reminding myself that I needed to look over that dirt road again and clean it up a bit. I had been driving for about 10 minutes on the main road back, twisting and turning, when I came up to the sharp right turn again. The second I came around that corner, I all of a sudden saw a person step out of the woods right in front of my car. I slammed brakes, but it was too late. The person in front of me turned their head and looked me straight in the eye. It all went so fast, but I could clearly see that it was an old lady. She was smiling ear to ear beneath the dark hood. I closed my eyes and prepared for the inevitable impact, but it never came. The car came to a screaming halt, and I slowly opened my eyes again, my heart beating like crazy. I was breathing so hard, I almost passed out before I could calm myself down. I looked all around me, but couldn't see anything or anyone outside. I loosened my seatbelt and got out of the car to see where the old lady had gone. Oh, my God, is she under the car? There was no one. Nothing. I was sure she had been there just seconds ago. I could still see her old creepy face in front of me. Had I fallen asleep? I turned my warning signals on and walked back the way I had came. There were no signs of anyone. I could see where the black tires on the pavement and the smell of burnt rubber mixed in with the smells of the forest. The wind was picking up, thrashing and tarring the huge trees from one side to another. Branches cracking and breaking in the wind. In the distance, I heard a lone owl howl. After looking around for a while, I, without finding any evidence for an old lady, or any other person for that matter, got back into my car, drove all the way home. The rest of the way being uneventful. So, Wednesday and Thursday came and went. I had put the incident with my car behind me and wrote it down as stress or sleep deprivation, and was so ready to get back to my cabin, spend first of many weekends. My cabin, I thought with a smile. My bags were packed, and I already was in the car. I hadn't had time to look for a new bed yet, but figured that I would just throw some blankets over the existing one and make it through the first couple of nights like that. I sat in my office, counted down the minutes while staring out the window. Outside, the busy city was living its life. People in suits, dressing, get from one place to another, cars stuck in traffic, honking at each other, get out of the way. Buildings of all sizes packed tight together, blocking out the last few hours of the afternoon sun, casting shadows on the streets, stopping the fresh air from freely flowing, whilst containing all the foul stench of the city within their broad, tall walls, looming above all. I absolutely couldn't stand it there. I felt claustrophobic among all this. I needed to get back out there, to the cabin. I closed my eyes while listening to the clock on the wall, slowly counting down in seconds. In my mind, I was back by the lake, feeling my lungs once again being filled by that pure, fresh air. I opened my eyes. The clock had just struck 5 p.m. I slammed my laptop together, grabbed my stuff, and took off to the elevator and pressed the button for the garage. The elevator stopped on each floor to let more people in, pushing me further back. I could feel the panic of this containment creep closer, my pulse beating faster and faster. I stood in the corner at the back of the elevator when the doors opened once again. I couldn't see much from my position. The small metal box now packed with people, all wanting to get home as soon as possible. But for a split second, one of the mirrors of the wall, I thought I saw a familiar face step into the elevator. I tried to look past all the suits, all the trench coats in front of me, and that's when I saw her. One quick glimpse was all I got, but I saw her. The only one not facing the doors, but staring me straight in the eye. There she stood, the old woman that I thought I had ran over the other day, smiling. I only saw her for a split second, and when the doors finally opened again and people started to exit, she was gone. I waited for all the people in front of me to get out before I slowly started to make my way to the badly lit garage, the other side of the doors, clutching my things tight against my chest, all the while looking around to see if I could see where the old woman had gone. But just like the other day, she was nowhere to be found. I finally got to the car, sat down, and closed the door behind me. I took a deep breath. You're imagining things. Come on. Another breath, I slapped myself to return to reality. And then finally, I was on my way. I got up to the cabin around 7 p.m. The sun was in vain struggling to illuminate on the oncoming night sky. The trees looked just as beautiful as a couple of days ago. Majestic, beautiful, huge. I wondered how old they could be, how long they had stood there, dancing in the wind, their roots digging deeper and deeper to the soil for each coming year. What secrets do they keep? What have they seen during their time? After unloading my stuff from my car, I unlocked the front door, flung it open, dropping my bags and belongings onto the couch, and immediately started to get a fire going in the big fireplace. The soothing sound of the wood starting to crackle, catch on fire, soon filled the small living room, along with the calming smell of a warm fire. I went out into the kitchen and brewed a big mug of strong black coffee. I took the mug into the living room and started to look a bit more closely on the stuff that the previous owners had left behind. There were some real nice things here. An old 50s radio, the ones that took up half the room, a typewriter, all set up to be used with an old wrinkled paper still struck into it. Some figurines, some random knickknacks. I started to go over the books on the bookshelf. I noticed that they all had the same theme. They were really old books, like really old antiques, about spirituality, religions, dark magic, crystals, stuff like that. I'd never really been interested in things like that, but I got intrigued. I pulled one of the books out and sat down on the couch, skimming through it while sipping my coffee and listening to the fire, now at full blaze, spreading its warmth around the cabin. I can't understand how people still believe in this stuff, I thought to myself, while flipping through the pages. I went to put the book back up on the shelf when I noticed a painting hanging over the fireplace. How have I not noticed this before? It was a big oil painting with a thick hand carved dark wooden frame. A painting of this very cabin. It looked old, but the cabin in the painting basically looked the same as it did now. The quality of it was amazing. So much detail. All the small differences in the colors of the wood, the hundreds, if not thousands of leaves on the trees, each carefully painted. The way the sun broke through the clouds in the sky and reflected on the lake. The lady in the window. Wait, what lady? I looked again. There was no one in the window. I had to rub my eyes, but I swear I saw someone there just now. Must just be getting tired and hungry. I could hear my stomach growl, and I hadn't eaten since lunch. I brushed away the unsettling feeling of the painting and went back into the small kitchen. Ah, damn! I was supposed to stop and buy groceries on my way up. I had totally forgotten. I had literally nothing to eat. Well, I better drive into the small town and get some food. I downed my last coffee and placed the mug on the mantelpiece, and then stepped through the front door. Just like last time, I was up here. The wind had now picked up again, and the trees were once again swaying violently from one side to another, desperately trying to hold on to the last yellow-reddish leaves that were being ripped from their branches. Like a mother trying to hold on to their child in panic. I got out to my car and started to drive away when I took a quick look in my rearview mirror and saw the exact spot that the painter must have stood while creating a painting above the fireplace. I swear I could see someone standing in the living room window, if only for a split second. I stopped my car and turned around to get a better look. There was no one. Swear my mind's playing tricks on me. I really need to get to eat. I just kept on driving and finally got to the town, parked my car with the briefcase, constantly checking his watch, clearly waiting for someone to arrive. I parked my car, got out to go over to the agency when the man looked over my way. "Ah, you're here for the cabin, right? Cabin by the lake?" Yes, I am." "All right, well, let's get going." He got into his car that was parked down the street and asked me to follow him in my car. I noticed that he seemed a bit stressed, his face a bit pale, with beads of sweat on his forehead, like he was coming down with something. Anyway, we drove out to a small town and was soon driving on twisting and turning small roads to the woods. The trees were exploding in autumn colors, yellow, orange, red. It was mesmerizing, like driving through an oil painting. After driving for about 45 minutes in this gorgeous scenery, the agent's car took a sharp turn down a small dirt road. If you didn't know it was there, you probably never would have seen it. It was overgrown with high grass and was a bumpy ride. Luckily, we only had to drive down it for about 10 minutes. Then, I saw it. The cabin. It was, from what I could see, all what I hoped for, and more. I couldn't wait to go inside and check it out. I was so excited. I parked my car next to his and got out. "So, here we are." Indeed. God, what a beautiful place, I whispered to myself while looking around. The cabin was just like in the ad, a small, dark wooden house right next to the lake. The lake itself looked a lot bigger than it did in the small photos that I'd seen. The surroundings were all forest. Everywhere you looked, all you saw were giant, ancient, majestic trees reaching for the skies, now full color. The ground was covered with the fallen leaves, some dancing around in circles and the mild winds blowing. You really smell the fall air. Soon it would be winter, and I could only imagine how beautiful this place would look, covered in snow. I decided in there I would spend my entire holiday vacation there. "Should we have a look?" I heard him say, awakening me from my daydreaming. "Oh, yes, of course. Show me the way." So, the cabin is old. In fact, we don't know who built it or when. But as long as we have the town record, the cabin has been here. We've been keeping it record for about 140 years. But I honestly think the cabin is much older than that. Now, of course, the cabin has seen a couple different owners over the years, and most of them has modernized the place in some way or another when moving in. For instance, there's running water and indoor bathroom, electricity. There is, however, no landline telephone, and the cell reception out here is sketchy at best. Ah, no worries. My plan is to come out here and get away from all this anyway. So that actually just good. Gives me another reason not to check my emails every 5 minutes. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Come on, let's go inside. I didn't say anything, but his sales pitch was unnecessary. I had already made my mind up. I needed this place. It was, however, out of character for me to feel like this. I could easily spend several days browsing through different stores, comparing prices, just for a pair of jeans. Yet, here I was, ready to hand over quite the amount of cash for a cabin I have never set foot in. But somehow, it didn't bother me. It was like I was drawn to it. I needed it. I wanted it. Every fiber in my being telling me so. The front door opened straight into a large living room. In the wall to my right, there was a big stone fireplace, beautifully and masterfully built, with large stones, different forms and sizes, carefully placed like a jigsaw puzzle, framing the fireplace. Opposite to my left was a door to the bedroom. Next to that, the door to the bathroom. I immediately fell even more in love with this place. I was so into that, I at first didn't even reflect over the fact that it was furnished. The bedroom was a cozy little room, a big window overlooking the woods and the dirt road we drove down a couple minutes earlier. The front window, there hung old see-through once white curtains. You know, the ones grandmas always have for some reason. An old sturdy bed stood in the center of the room, complete with madras and bedspreads. If not for all the dust, it looked like someone had just got up from this morning and left it. Next to the bed, there was a small-sized table with a candle holder, covered in old melted stearate. The bathroom was a small place, with just the things you needed: a shower, a toilet, and a sink. You can tell this part was added not too long ago, but still, it looked like it had been there for quite some time. It needed some cleaning, that's for sure. But all in all, it was just fine. On the far side of the living room, there was 3 big windows with an amazing panoramic view of the lake and the surrounding forest. That was about it. The cabin wasn't much more than that, which was perfectly fine by me. I certainly didn't need any more than this. I already see myself sitting in front of the fire, a glass of scotch, and nothing on my mind. This place was perfect. Yeah, the previous owners left everything behind, it seems, the agent suddenly said. Can't for sure tell you what happened to them. I just know we got a letter from them, including the keys to the cabin, saying they had to move and that we should contact them when the place got sold to wire their money. You keep the furniture if you want, or replace it or whatever. Weird though, I thought, but not unheard of, Many people can move in a hurry for any number of reasons. I looked around, and the furniture really did go well with the place. Big, strong wooden tables, leather sofa that looked like it would be really comfy, bookshelves filled with old books, lamps. Really gave the place nice ambiance. I'll probably have to buy a new bed though. I thought, feeling a bit weird about sleeping in some stranger's old bed. I went over to the big windows to take a little look over the amazing view. The last rays of the sun gently kissing the lake and the woods. It was first then that I noticed an opening to my right, on the same side as the fireplace. It led into a small kitchen, which had all the basics. Nothing fancy, but just what you needed. There was also a back door from the kitchen leading out to the backyard, right by the lake. I opened the door and took a step out. I closed my eyes, took a deep breath of the crisp autumn air. It filled my lungs, and I could feel myself growing calm. Slowly, I opened my eyes to the view in front of me, took it all in. It was truly amazing, a little piece of paradise. I drew another lung-filling breath where I stepped back inside, closed the door behind me. I was looking through the drawers and cabinets when I noticed the floor sounded differently in the middle of the kitchen. There was a small carpet there, and when I pushed it away with my foot, it revealed an old hatch underneath. Its hinges blackened by time and neglect. I looked over to the agent who was leaning against the wall, the kitchen entrance. "Oh, go ahead," he said, almost in an excited manner, motioned with his head towards the hatch. Open it, I leaned down and grabbed the handle and pulled the hatch towards me. It creaked and groaned like it hadn't been opened in years. A deep, dark, empty space beneath it stared back at me. I was trying to see what was down there. A steep wooden staircase with questionable stability led down to the darkness. I looked around for a flashlight. Like he was reading my mind, the agent came over, handed one to me. "There you go. I always keep one on me whenever I go into the woods." I started to descend down the stairs, with one hand firmly gripping the wall, and the other one holding the flashlight, illuminating the steps in front of me. About 15 steps down, I made it to what looked like a classic dirt cellar. The kind they used to have in old days when you needed somewhere to keep your food from spoiling. You didn't have access to a refrigerator. This dirt cellar, however, was a bit different. It looked like someone had used it as an office of some sort. There was an old desk, two big bookshelves along the walls, packed with books of all sizes. What an odd place to put an office, though. I shined the flashlight around the small space and saw that there was an old oil lamp hanging from the hook. I took it down and brought it back with me to the kitchen. I gotta say, I really, really love this place. But I gotta ask, why the cheap price? Well, to be honest, we've had this place on the market for quite some time now, without any luck. I really don't know why no one else has come along sooner and swooped this beauty up, because as you've seen for yourself, it's a beautiful and well-maintained place. Hell, if I had the money myself, it really is something. You know what? I'll take it. Where do I sign? I didn't think he could possibly smile any wider than he had done this whole time. But when I said I wanted to buy the place, I swear I thought his face would crack from how wide his smile was. Right here, he said, while opening his briefcase that had been holding on to his whole time. Tossed it on the kitchen counter and opened the clasps on either side, pulled out a stack of papers. He had the contract drawn up and ready to be signed. Sign here, there, initials there, and there. He looked almost like someone who had 9 out of the 10 lottery numbers down and just wanted for that jackpot number. I put down my last initials and noticed how he was breathing heavily and started to sweat a little. All right, there you go. You're officially a cabin owner. Congratulations. Thank you very much. But what about the money? Oh, there's an account number in there somewhere. Just wire the money when you can. I trust you. Okay. Yeah, I'll do that as soon as I have access to the internet again. Perfect. Well, I've got to go. I have a long drive home and it really gets dark out here. Yeah, me as well. You mean you're not staying here tonight? Oh, no. I have work tomorrow. I need to get some stuff from home before I can stay the night here. I'll probably drive up this weekend and get settled. Oh, I see. He looked almost disappointed. Alright, well, drive safe and don't hesitate to call if you need anything. And with that, he was out the door and within minutes, driving up the dirt road again. I took one last look around. My cabin, I thought. My own cabin. I let out a slight laugh. I couldn't believe it. The sun was just about to disappear behind the trees on the far side of the lake, making the water look almost entirely like it was ablaze. The thick mist was slowly rolling out of the waters, and even though I was inside, I could feel the coldness out there. I turned to leave, and in the distance, I swear I could hear a faint giggle. I stopped in my tracks and listened. Nothing. Must be the house, I thought. Wooden houses make all kinds of weird noises when temperature changes. I shook it off and went out through the front door, locked up, and walked over to my car to drive home. The leaves rustling and crunching beneath my feet. It was completely dark out by now, and I had to take it real easy to find my way out the main road again. Quietly reminding myself that I needed to look over that dirt road again and clean it up a bit. I had been driving for about 10 minutes on the main road back, twisting and turning, when I came up to the sharp right turn again. The second I came around that corner, I all of a sudden saw a person step out of the woods right in front of my car. I slammed brakes, but it was too late. The person in front of me turned their head and looked me straight in the eye. It all went so fast, but I could clearly see that it was an old lady. She was smiling ear to ear beneath the dark hood. I closed my eyes and prepared for the inevitable impact, but it never came. The car came to a screaming halt, and I slowly opened my eyes again, my heart beating like crazy. I was breathing so hard, I almost passed out before I could calm myself down. I looked all around me, but couldn't see anything or anyone outside. I loosened my seatbelt and got out of the car to see where the old lady had gone. Oh, my God, is she under the car? There was no one. Nothing. I was sure she had been there just seconds ago. I could still see her old creepy face in front of me. Had I fallen asleep? I turned my warning signals on and walked back the way I had came. There were no signs of anyone. I could see where the black tires on the pavement and the smell of burnt rubber mixed in with the smells of the forest. The wind was picking up, thrashing and tarring the huge trees from one side to another. Branches cracking and breaking in the wind. In the distance, I heard a lone owl howl. After looking around for a while, I, without finding any evidence for an old lady, or any other person for that matter, got back into my car, drove all the way home. The rest of the way being uneventful. So, Wednesday and Thursday came and went. I had put the incident with my car behind me and wrote it down as stress or sleep deprivation, and was so ready to get back to my cabin, spend first of many weekends. My cabin, I thought with a smile. My bags were packed and I already was in the car. I hadn't had time to look for a new bed yet, but figured that I would just throw some blankets over the existing one and make it through the first couple of nights like that. I sat in my office, counted down the minutes while staring out the window. Outside, the busy city was living its life. People in suits, dressing, get from one place to another, cars stuck in traffic, honking at each other, get out of the way. Buildings of all sizes packed tight together, blocking out the last few hours of the afternoon sun, casting shadows on the streets, stopping the fresh air from freely flowing, whilst containing all the foul stench of the city within their broad, tall walls, looming above all. I absolutely couldn't stand it there. I felt claustrophobic among all this. I needed to get back out there, to the cabin. I closed my eyes while listening to the clock on the wall, slowly counting down in seconds. In my mind, I was back by the lake, feeling my lungs once again being filled by that pure, fresh air. I opened my eyes. The clock had just struck 5 p.m. I slammed my laptop together, grabbed my stuff, and took off to the elevator and pressed the button for the garage. The elevator stopped on each floor to let more people in, pushing me further back. I could feel the panic of this containment creep closer, my pulse beating faster and faster. I stood in the corner at the back of the elevator when the doors opened once again. I couldn't see much from my position. The small metal box now packed with people, all wanting to get home as soon as possible. But for a split second, one of the mirrors of the wall, I thought I saw a familiar face step into the elevator. I tried to look past all the suits, all the trench coats in front of me, and that's when I saw her. One quick glimpse was all I got, but I saw her. The only one not facing the doors, but staring me straight in the eye. There she stood, the old woman that I thought I had ran over the other day, smiling. I only saw her for a split second, and when the doors finally opened again and people started to exit, she was gone. I waited for all the people in front of me to get out before I slowly started to make my way to the badly lit garage, the other side of the doors, clutching my things tight against my chest, all the while looking around to see if I could see where the old woman had gone. But just like the other day, she was nowhere to be found. I finally got to the car, sat down, and closed the door behind me. I took a deep breath. You're imagining things. Come on. Another breath, I slapped myself to return to reality. And then finally, I was on my way. I got up to the cabin around 7 p.m. The sun was in vain struggling to illuminate on the oncoming night sky. The trees looked just as beautiful as a couple of days ago. Majestic, beautiful, huge. I wondered how old they could be, how long they had stood there, dancing in the wind, their roots digging deeper and deeper to the soil for each coming year. What secrets do they keep? What have they seen during their time? After unloading my stuff from my car, I unlocked the front door, flung it open, dropping my bags and belongings onto the couch, and immediately started to get a fire going in the big fireplace. The soothing sound of the wood starting to crackle, catch on fire, soon filled the small living room, along with the calming smell of a warm fire. I went out into the kitchen and brewed a big mug of strong black coffee. I took the mug into the living room and started to look a bit more closely on the stuff the previous owners had left behind. There were some real nice things here. An old 50s radio, the ones that took up half the room, a typewriter, all set up to be used with an old wrinkled paper still struck into it. Some figurines, random knickknacks. I started to go over the books on the bookshelf. I noticed that they all had the same theme. They were really old books, like really old antiques, about spirituality, religions, dark magic, crystals, stuff like that. I'd never really been interested in things like that, but I got intrigued. I pulled one of the books out and sat down on the couch, skimming through it while sipping my coffee and listening to the fire, now at full blaze, spreading its warmth around the cabin. I can't understand how people still believe in this stuff, I thought to myself while flipping through the pages. I went to put the book back up on the shelf when I noticed a painting hanging over the fireplace. How have I not noticed this before? It was a big oil painting with a thick hand carved, dark wooden frame. A painting of this very cabin. It looked old, but the cabin in the painting basically looked the same as it did now. The quality of it was amazing. So much detail. All the small differences in the colors of the wood, the hundreds, if not thousands of leaves on the trees, each carefully painted. The way the sun broke through the clouds in the sky and reflected on the lake. The lady in the window. Wait, what lady? I looked again. There was no one in the window. I had to rub my eyes, but I swear I saw someone there just now. Must just be getting tired and hungry. I could hear my stomach growl, and I hadn't eaten since lunch. I brushed away the unsettling feeling of the painting and went back into the small kitchen. Ah, damn! I was supposed to stop and buy groceries on my way up. I had totally forgotten. I had literally nothing to eat. Well, I better drive into the small town and get some food. I downed my last coffee and placed the mug on the mantelpiece, and then stepped through the front door. Just like last time, I was up here. The wind had now picked up again, and the trees were once again swaying violently from one side to another, desperately trying to hold on to the last yellow-reddish leaves that were being ripped from their branches, like a mother trying to hold on to their child in panic. I got out to my car and started to drive away when I took a quick look in my rearview mirror and saw the exact spot that the painter must have stood while creating a painting above the fireplace. I swear I could see someone standing in the living room window, if only for a split second. I stopped my car and turned around to get a better look. There was no one. Swear my mind's playing tricks on me. I really need to get to eat. I just kept on driving and finally got to the town, parked my car, started to walk around. It really was a small town. One main street, a couple of smaller ones intersecting with mostly homes, different sizes. The place seemed deserted at this time. Yellow tinted lights above the street rocked back and forth in the wind. That started to rain. I couldn't see a living soul anywhere, but I felt like I had eyes on me from behind every curtain, every dark window I walked by. I wrapped my jacket closer and tried my best to avoid the cold rain as I finally found a small grocery store with the lights on and went inside. The store mirrored the rest of the town. It was like taking a step back in time as I went inside. It looked like a grocery store from the 50s. Big bags of wheat, potatoes, and seeds, and some sort of floor with hand-painted signs. Cans of all kinds of soups and preserved fruits, vegetables on the wooden shelves. The place was only lit by a dim light, hidden somewhere above the rows of shelves that took up most of the place of the small shop. The radio was playing quietly in the distance, and you could hear the rain, gaining in intensity as it poured down on the windows. There wasn't much to choose from, so I got some basics and went to the register to pay. The owner was an elderly gentleman with a white beard, brown glasses. He reminded me of Santa, I remember thinking. He looked up at me from his chair where he sat, reading a paper with a suspicious look. "You're not from around here, are you?" No. I just bought the cabin up there by the lake. Spending my first weekend. Cabin? By the lake? Huh. Yeah, it's a small place. I see. And this is your first night? Oh, that's right. Just needed to get some food out there. Mister, if I were you, I would get in my car and drive back wherever you came from. I just looked at him, dumbfounded. Didn't really know what to respond. So I just grabbed my groceries and started to walk towards the door, casting one last look back at him before I went outside. I'm serious. Forget the cabin. Go home. Why? This place isn't right. I know what cabin you mean. Stay away. Just go back home and forget all about it. Yeah, I think I'll be alright. Yeah, that's what they all say. Don't say I didn't warn you. I slowly walked out of there and closed the door behind me. Well, that was weird. I started to walk down the street, the rain now absolutely pouring down seemingly from all directions. Hard gusts of wind making the streetlights cast their beams all over, and in turn creating an intense show of shadows appearing and disappearing on the side of the houses all along the main street. I realized I was close to the agency, where I had met the agent on Tuesday. But when I came up to the spot where we'd met, the place was all boarded up. And oddly enough, it looked like it had been like that for some time. The wood on the boards looked old and weathered, rusty nails protruding from the sides, like it had been nailed to the wall for ages. There was no sign of having any kind of business for years, let alone 3 days before. I tried to peek inside between the moldy, smelling boards, but couldn't see much. It seemed completely empty and abandoned. The growling sounds came from my stomach, brought me back to my senses. I hurried back to my car, realizing I was now completely drenched by the rain, freezing to the bones. Oh man, I couldn't wait to change into some dry clothes and sit down right in front of that warm fire back at the cabin. On the way back, I remembered that I still had the agent's number in my list of recently called numbers on my phone. He did say I could call if I had any questions. So I called him up to check what had happened to their office. But as soon as I hit dial, I got the familiar tone that a number had been disconnected. That's odd. I'll just try them again tomorrow. The whole drive back, I couldn't shake the comments from the old man at the grocery store. He really sounded like he meant what he said. He sounded almost scared for my well-being. Like he knew something I didn't. Should I go back and talk to him? And what did he mean by, that's what they all say? Ooh. So, I decided I would speak with him next time I go into town. Far as I was hungry, wet, and tired, I am not going to turn this car around now. When I got back to the cabin, I parked the car and quickly went inside. So hungry, I was about to pass out. So, I went into the kitchen, found the saucepan. It didn't look too nasty. Cleaned it up as good as I could, started to fry some eggs and bacon. The best I could find in that small town. I noticed that the old oil lamp on the kitchen table that I had recently brought from the dirt cellar. I wonder if the old owners had left any lamp oil laying around, and I started to look. After moving some stuff, I found a bottle with some fluid left and filled it up and lit it. It really gave a cozy light and a nice smell. I left it on the kitchen table while finishing making my late dinner. I sat down to eat while looking out to the darkness that had settled over the lake. The rain crashing down on the surface like someone was throwing hands full of pebbles, all their might, to the lake. The winds stirring up white foamy waves, going all directions at the same time, crashing into each other with force, sending the foamy droplets flying and joining the rain from above. The cabin was moaning and creaking in the wind, and the rain was hitting the windows so hard I almost started to worry it could break the thin glass panes by the sheer impact. I started to think about the cellar beneath me. It really was a strange place to have an office. No windows, cold, dark. I needed to investigate it further. I finished my dinner and placed the dishes in the sink. Before I checked out the cellar, I had put some more wood on the fire. You could really start to feel this was an old place. No great insulation, especially in weather conditions like these. If the fire went out, it would get real cold in here real fast. I went out into the living room, and the fire was almost out already. Red embers glowing. It was dark. In the window by the front door, the same window that you could see the painting over, was an old ugly lamp with a dark orange lampshade. I went over and turned it on. It flicked a bit, but it lit up after a while. It didn't do much to illuminate the room though. It seemed its light only reached as far as the window and back, turning that small part of the room sickeningly orange. I went over to the fireplace and found two big logs. I went over next to it, turned it on. These will do fine. As I turned to go back to the kitchen and down the cellar, I saw, out of the corner of my eye, a painting. There's a light in the window. I did a double take and looked over there again. No, there was no light. There's no woman and no light. Damn it. Mine is playing tricks on me again. Must be all this fresh air, or internet absent, or something. I went back into the kitchen and rolled up the carpet to reveal the hatch underneath. I grabbed the handle and pulled it open again. This time though, I didn't have the agent's flashlight to guide me. I had to take the oil lamp with me. It didn't light up anywhere near as well as the flashlight, but it was better than nothing. I got down and started to look around. The desk was an old, massive wooden desk. Oak, I think. How on earth did they get it down through that narrow hatch? The floor was basically just packed dirt. The walls were made of wood and the same kind that the rest of the cabin was. You could smell the rain from outside being soaked up by the wet ground on the other side of the walls. Two big bookshelves stood to my right, both packed with books. They were all in the same category as the books upstairs. Crystals, demons, witches, stuff like that. Some of them looked extremely old with cracked spines, all leather bound. There was a faded image of a mountaintop in the foreground with what looked like a fire behind it. I flipped through the pages, but it was written some foreign language that I couldn't understand. It looked like nothing I had ever seen before. I put it back and continued to check out the inventory. I swear I thought I could see something that stood out against the old spines, tucked away in the back. I removed them and held the oil lamp to get a better look. And there in the back of the shelf was another book. But this one seemed a bit newer than the others. It had no title, no image on the front. In fact, it looked more like a diary than a book. I got intrigued. It was too dark to read down there, so I went to bring the book with me upstairs again. I turned around and towards the staircase. The second I stepped foot on the first step, the hatch above me slammed shut with such a force that it shook the ceiling. I got so startled, I dropped the book, damn near dropped the lamp as well. I rushed up the stairs and tried to open it, but it wouldn't give way. It lifted a few inches before it slammed shut again, almost like someone was standing above it. I swear I heard a giggle like before, only closer. I started to freak out and was about to yell for help when I realized that there was no one around for miles. I was alone. Alone in the dark, damp cellar. Claustrophobic panic started to set in again. But as quickly as it started, it stopped. Suddenly, the weight lifted and I could open the hatch again. I flung it open and quickly went down to get the book back up from the floor, rushed back up the stairs again, where I just threw myself on the kitchen floor and laid there, breathing for a while, wondering what the hell just happened. I got up, closed the hatch behind me, went into the living room, and sat down in the leather couch in front of the fire. Outside, the weather had not started to settle. It seemed to only get worse. So, I placed the book on the table, got up from the couch, walked over to the big windows overseeing the lake, trying to shake the sudden rush of adrenaline out of my system while watching the storm rip through the surrounding forest outside. I worried a bit if the huge trees near the cabin could withstand such brute force. What if one of the trees would fall over in the wind? It would turn this cabin into tinder in a blink of an eye. Alcohol. I need alcohol, and thought and remembered that I had packed a bottle of scotch in one of my bags. I got it out and found the glass in the kitchen. I poured myself a real generous drink and went back to the couch, took one big sip. Was it all in my head? Was I imagining? Was I freaking myself out with all these incidents? The old lady, the painting, the agency being boarded up, the man from the grocery store in his warning, the hatch, all these weird books. I took another sip, then turned to the diary. I opened it up and read the first of the sentences. I'm writing this so that people will know what happened and what drove me to do what I did. I'm writing this as a warning so that no one else would follow in my footsteps. But if you are reading this, chances are it's already too late for you. If you have come so far as to have found the cellar and the diary, then you have probably already signed the contract. If you have signed the contract, it's too late. You have already given yourself to her. You probably already know who I mean. You've seen her out the corner of your eye, maybe in the cabin, maybe in the woods, maybe even in the goddamn painting over the fireplace. That damn painting is cursed. I threw it in the fire one day, only to find it back on the wall the next day. And that, just the start. I tried to get away, but it was pointless. No matter how I tried, I still ended up where I had started. In that fucking cabin. I have now realized that there's only one way out. Tonight, I'm going to end it myself. I'll hang myself in the cellar. I won't let her win. She can't have me, or my soul, or whatever it is that she wants from me. I'm going out on my terms. Sorry to say, but if you're reading this, you're probably going to want to do the same soon. Might shut the book hard. What the hell is this? Thought. This must be some sort of prank from the previous owners. Then I heard something slowly being slid over a rough surface. I stood up and gulped down the rest of the glass with one big sip. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my coffee mug suddenly fly across the room, from the mantelpiece, crashing to the opposite wall, a million pieces. Oh, fuck this. I'm going home. I grabbed my jacket, bolted out the front door, and ran for the car. The wind almost lifted me off the ground, and the rain felt like I was being hit by 1,000 tiny nails. I could swear I heard a distant voice in the wind, but ignored it, got into my car, and turned the key. It wouldn't start. I tried again and again and again and again, but no luck. It was dead. I screamed and got out again and started to run up the dirt road. The second I turned back to the car, a huge branch broke from the tree just above, came crashing down, straight through the windshield of my car, into the driver's seat. "Holy shit!" I exclaimed as I fell backwards into the mud. I struggled to find a grip into the slippery surface, eventually getting myself up again, immediately starting to run up the dirt road. I'll find my ride once I hit the main road, I thought. But in a weird sense, it felt like everything around me was trying to stop me from leaving. The wind and the rain were almost too much to run against, and the branches from the surrounding trees seemed to reach out after me like bony fingers nagging me, trying to grab onto me. I ran, and ran. Man, was this road always this long? After running for at least 15 minutes in a straight line, I saw a light ahead. Oh, finally. Maybe it's a car. I ran faster. I gave everything I had. Then, in disbelief, I fell to my knees. The light in front of me wasn't from my car. The light was coming from the old ugly lamp in the window. The window of the cabin? Ow, I hadn't made a single turn. How could I be back? I looked behind me to get my bearings. There in the distance, I thought I saw someone standing in the middle of the road. But as soon as I tried to focus and look closer, it seemed like the person disintegrated, blew away like leaves in the wind. I got up and ran back to the cabin. Went back in and locked the door, fell to the floor, panting, trying to wipe the mud and rain out of my face. All right, need a plan. Need to get out of here. What the hell is this place? Mind was racing. My thoughts were then interrupted by the painting, all of a sudden falling to the floor with a loud crash. I got up and slowly went to pick it up, but dropped it as soon as I looked at it. There, in the painting, was a woman standing outside the cabin, right outside the front door, clear as day. I stumbled back and fell down on the couch. I slowly turned my head towards the front door and saw the handle slowly turn. I flew up to make sure the door was locked and slowly backed away again. The door suddenly stopped moving. It was immediately replaced with the sound of an old typewriter behind me, typing. I turned my head and to my disbelief watched as the letters were being pressed down, one by some invisible force. I slowly made my way over there and looked down on the paper. You are mine, you are mine, you are mine, over and over. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and glanced over to the kitchen. The back door, I thought. I had to make another try to get out of here. I took off into the kitchen and out the door. Once again, I slid down into the mud and got myself back up again and took off my left into the woods alongside the shore of the lake. There's bound to be a house somewhere along the shore. I tripped and fell. Got branches in my face or my jacket. I didn't care. I was not going to stop. After about 20 minutes, I saw a clearing up to my left. It looked like a camping spot. Maybe there's someone there that can help me? I tried to move as quiet and quick as I could by doing my best to keep the rain out of my face. But when I came to the clearing, it was empty. No sign of anyone being there any time. There were, however, markings and carvings on the trees all around the clearing. I got up closer, and it looked like the same language that I had found in the old books. Almost Latin, but not quite. 3 rows of text on one tree, and some weird carving. It was hard to make it out in the darkness, but it looked like a crescent moon and something else. In the middle of the clearing, there was a big stone circle on the ground, twigs bound together, resting on the trees. What the hell is this? I went back down to the shore and moved on in the same direction that I had been going before. More than once, tripping over fallen branches and stones, almost falling to the damn lake itself. I looked back out over the water, and I could still clearly see the cabin way back there. It looked perfectly peaceful from here, but I knew better by now. I turned my head to move on and got the wind completely knocked out of me. There, right in front of me, it stood. The goddamn cabin. I looked back behind me again, and a mist lay over the lake, blocking the view. Other than that, nothing but woods. All I saw was the fucking cabin behind me. And now, here it is. As if I had run full circle around the lake and come up to it from the right-hand side. I could feel my sanity go. Honestly, I think I'm losing it. But shit like this can't be real. I must have crashed my car on the way up there, ended up in a coma or something. This has to all be a dream. Yes, that's it. This is a dream. This is not happening. Reality does not work this way. I didn't know if this was in fact what was happening, but somewhere, somehow, gave me some small moment of relief. The thought of this might all be some kind of messed up dream. After all, what was more likely, more probable? That I somehow ended up what I only could describe as a haunted cabin? Or was this really just all in my head? Occam's razor and all that? The simplest solution is almost always correct. Almost always. I had no choice to go back into the cabin for a second time since the world turned absolute. I was so cold. My teeth hammering against each other like a jackhammer trying to reach the center of the earth. My clothes were by this point more water than fabric. I got back in though, through the kitchen door, closed it behind me. Carefully looked around. No one in the kitchen, the hatch was closed, empty in the living room, bathroom, bedroom. The painting looked normal again. Front door, still locked. The typewriter was still... I walked over to it again, and the paper was blanked. There was nothing written on it. Coma, dream. I must be. Either that or I'm truly losing my mind. I sat down in the couch once again, a loud sigh, poured myself another drink. The fire was still going. Felt good. I discarded my soaking wet jacket on the floor and could feel myself calm down a bit. I glanced over at the table and saw the diary still laying there. I grabbed it, kept on reading. I just can't see any other way out. I don't know what happens if she catches you. I don't want to know. All I know is that I've been up here for 3 days now, and I can't get out. I tried getting to the main road. I've tried running out into the woods. I even tried swimming over the fucking lake. No matter what I try, I always end up back here at the cabin. This place is cursed. I even tried to burn the book to the ground, but the fire wouldn't take. It's a goddamn wooden cabin. The fire wouldn't take? God damn it. I'm writing this as a warning, but I don't know if it will make any difference. On my last day here today, I found a diary myself, written by the last owner, with a warning for me, or for anyone who would have found it. Poor guy before me couldn't take it either. He had ended his stay here, and on this earth, by going out into the lake to drown himself. I think hanging is probably faster. If only I had a gun, could have ended it in a second. I truly hope no one needs to read this, but if you do, I'm so sorry. I laid the book down and stared into the fire. If this really is a dream, a coma, maybe I need to die here to wake up in the hospital? Either way, I can't take any more of this. The panic slowly starting to return. I could feel tears rolling down my cheeks. I mean, it's not like I would be missed. Sure, they would have a moment at work, say a few things about me, but that's it. I don't have any family, no girlfriend or wife, no kids. I have to try. I have to try to die so that I maybe can live again. If this really is a dream, maybe my only way out. As soon as I had made up my mind, the old radio started to crackle. The dial lit up in a sickeningly yellow light. The needle on the dial slowly moving back and forth through the frequencies all by itself. A voice in the distance behind the static. Oh, you are mine. You have signed the contract. You will not befriend me of what I own. You belong to me. And a loud bang on the door, and the handle started to wiggle furiously. I stood up in a panic, staring at the door, then at the radio, the dial now flying back and forth in a manic speed, and the room from nowhere burst with loud white noise. I ran into the kitchen, grabbed the oil lamp, opened the hatch, and went down. I tried to barricade it so that you couldn't open it from the other side. All I found was some rope. I tied it to the hatch and secured it to the staircase, went down. Started to look around. I didn't know for what, but I glanced back up at the rope. Was it enough? I stopped and looked. There was a sturdy beam in the ceiling. Yes, I will follow the last guy here. But first, I went through the drawers, and after a while, found this book. This empty diary. I had to write this down. This is my warning to you, whoever you are. This is my goodbye. Maybe I'll wake up somewhere in a hospital bed with tubes coming out of me and machines all around. Maybe not. I just can't take it anymore. I have the chances. As I'm writing this, I can hear screaming from the white noise upstairs. I can hear furniture being thrown. I need to end this now, before she gets to me. I'm using the rope from the hatch, and I'm hanging myself on that beam. I hope you never have to read this, but I'm leaving the book plain sight on the desk down there. Goodbye. Silence. Was I dead? I opened my eyes. I was lying on the dirt floor, rope around my neck. My head hurt. Blood was dripping into my eye. What had happened? I tried to get up, but I was pinned down. I tried to hang myself, but the beam had broken and knocked me out. It looked like the back of the room was about to cave in. I managed to get out from under the beam and sat on my knees. Couldn't breathe. I loosened the noose around my neck and tossed it to the floor, breathing hard and deep. The beam had knocked over one of the bookshelves. There was something behind it. What was that? A room? I managed to stand up and limp over the bookshelf, still standing up, and leaned against it. The oil lamp was still burning on the desk. I took it and moved closer to the opening. I had to push the heavy shelf to the side to be able to slide in behind it. I entered the hidden space and held up the lamp to illuminate my surroundings. What was that in the back of the room? It looked like an altar? A big stone altar, bowls with something in it. It looked like dried up blood mixed with some other stuff. The smell was nauseating. I felt like throwing up. The walls were covered in weird symbols and sigils. In the center of the altar, there was another book. It looked like it was bound by small patches of leather. Was it leather? It almost felt like skin. There was a symbol on the front of the eye and a crescent moon. It looked like it had been burnt into the skin. I opened the book and it too was covered in text that I couldn't read. But somehow, I knew that this book was connected to all that was happening. Maybe if I destroyed it? I grabbed it and limped back out of the dirt cellar and up the staircase. There were still no sounds coming from up there. I tried to move as quiet as I could up the stairs and through the hatch. As soon as I had come up, I started to feel sick. I wanted to throw up. Everything was spinning. Suddenly, the white noise came back with a vengeance. It was deafening. It was like it was in my head. I could feel blood starting to drip from my ears. I have to destroy this book. This is all I can think of. I got sick in the sink and fell to the ground. Something flew by my head and crashed in the wall behind me. Plate? I looked up and the entire shelf on the wall was shaking, glasses flying right to me. I caught one right in the eyebrow, blood starting to pour down on my face. I mustered all the strength I had left and started to crawl towards the living room. Honestly, it felt like I was crawling up a steep hill, like gravity had shifted. I grabbed the hold of the wall by the opening and pulled myself closer. The fireplace. I have to throw the book in the fire. I have to. I managed to get to the living room, but I had no strength left. I could barely even breathe. I threw myself on the floor. I had a narrow angle to the fireplace, and I saw the painting above it. It had changed again. The forest was burning. The lake looked like it was boiling lava. In the window of the painting she stood. I could see her clearly now. Her old, wrinkly face. Her eyes. Oh my God, her eyes. Pure white. I felt like she was staring into my soul. I turned my head and looked over to the actual window. There she stood. She slowly turned her head towards me. This was it. I had one chance, or I would be hers to do as she pleased. I aimed, still lying down with the very last of my strength, threw the book towards the fire. Time seemed to slow down. It seemed like everything was happening in slow motion. In the blink of an eye, she was over me, hovering in horizontal position, her eyes just inches from mine. She smelled like death and carnage. Her dark, wet, greasy hair covering my face, her ice-cold hand firmly gripping my wrist. I could feel her long yellow nails bury themselves into my skin. I could feel myself dying from the inside when the corner of my eye, I saw the book disappear into the flames. An ear-piercing screech followed. It felt like the whole cabin imploded. A bright white light, and then nothing. I woke up yesterday in the hospital. They say a couple of hikers found me out in the woods in what looked like a camp spot. Apparently, I had been lying there in the middle of a big stone circle, unconscious. Dried blood everywhere, torn clothes, bruises all over. I wasn't sure what had happened. I remembered everything, but couldn't even believe it myself. It had just to have been a dream, I thought. That was until they came to change my bandages. There, on the wrist, were two barely visible scars. A crescent moon and an eye. I don't think I'm out of the woods yet. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of our story. Yo, what is up, everybody? Let's go back again. Another short horror story for you guys. This one is a one-shot written by Old School Horror titled Something's Out There. Remember to use the links in the description below. Show love to them. Like, comment, subscribe. Dark roads lead to dark places. These were the words which went through Jake Harris's mind as he was driving on the lonely country road. He was coming from a dark place, a place which was not physical. It was in his past, and no matter how fast he was driving, he couldn't get out of it. Guilt is a dangerous feeling. It was eating him for years, so he was driving away from the big city. He needed some time on his own. The state of Wisconsin proved to be an excellent choice for him. Jake's late parents had a cabin somewhere north in the woods. He was headed in that direction in order to escape for a few days. Sleepiness crawled over him, and he had a hard time concentrating on the road. He was driving for many hours now. But driving was also a thing which he loved. Long roads were his favorite. Since his wife and son had died, he was often on the road. Sometimes Jake just got into the car and drove off to nowhere. The road wasn't lit very well. It was a country road after all. It hadn't been rehabilitated since 1980. Now, in 2005, the condition was already decayed by weather and because of the high frequency of truck traffic. Now, the trucks tried to avoid this road as much as possible because of the poor condition. Many of the lights weren't working, and nobody bothered repairing them. Jake had to pay extra attention to the road and anything on the side. He didn't want to risk hitting a deer or wild boar. He reached a wooded area. I must be close, he thought. Pressed the gas pedal a little harder. After passing a dangerous curve, Jake spotted one of the light poles. Right behind the light pole, there was a sign which stated that there's a gas station about 1 mile down the road. He glanced at the instrument panel. It showed that there's still some gas in the tank. Glancing back at the sign, he saw that the light wasn't working properly. It kept fading, then brightening again. It was a strange occurrence. Jake couldn't remember seeing anything like that before. Then his eyes caught something near his shadows. It looked like there was a person standing there. For a moment, he thought he saw a pair of circular red eyes. Or were they red lights? He slowed down a bit, but couldn't see more. So, he kept on driving. The front lights of his car flickered erratically, and he was in line of sight. They were even out for a few seconds, radio went crazy, switching channels in a chaotic manner, until he got past the sign. After about 30 yards or so, everything went back to normal. This strange event woke him up from his lethargic state. Jake thought that his battery might not be working properly. Faulty wiring combined with some interference might explain both of the phenomena. It was weird, however, that they happened at the same time. Coincidence like this had a tiny chance of happening. God, I'm tired, he thought, and sped up some more in order to reach the gas station as soon as possible. A few minutes of rest, and he'll be on his way. Maybe a cup of coffee would be a good idea. Jake hoped to find a vending machine there, and if strange events won't repeat themselves, then it will be alright. Continue. The tired man kept looking around to see if he can spot anything unusual between the trees. He couldn't see anything out of the ordinary. There were only oak and maple trees everywhere he looked. Lush vegetation surrounded the road from both sides. The dark parts, though, made him feel uneasy. He had to slow down and drive with extra care when going through those parts where the lights were out. The gas station appeared in front of him. It was a well-lit place, but not big. In front of the station, where the pumps had been placed, was covered by a metallic roof supported by an old steel structure. He then stopped his red 1993 BMW at one of the pumps and filled up the tank. Another car was parked at the other pump. There were only 4 of them. When Jake looked inside, he saw a woman and a little girl through the windows. They were looking around as if they didn't know what to buy. He looked around again, but couldn't see anything. Lights were all bright around the place, so he wasn't able to discern much of anything far away. What he had seen earlier left an uneasy feeling inside of him. A shadow with a strange shape. Or was it his imagination? He got out of the car and pulled up the zipper of his leather jacket. It was a little windy around here. Autumn had already arrived, so the weather kept getting colder each day. His legs had a hard time walking. He had spent a considerable time in a seated position, so his joints so heavy and rusty. Jake wasn't too old. In fact, he was only 44, and still as healthy as a man can be at that age. The stubble on his face already turned into a beard. He hadn't shaved for a few days. His sunken cheeks and droopy eyes betrayed tiredness and past heavy encounters with the bottle. He filled up the tank, then went inside the station and bought himself a coffee from the vending machine. He waited for the clerk while listening to the pleasant music which was playing in the background. It must have been the radio, but he couldn't see where it was. Then the gas station clerk came to the counter a few seconds later. He was a tall black guy, also a little skinny. The man didn't look tired at all, maybe a little bored. He had thick lips and dark brown eyes, characteristic of African American people. Jake paid for the gas, and before he could leave, an agitated man rushed inside. He was in his 50s and sported an enormous belly. The blue baseball cap on his head was dirty and soaked in sweat. The man's hairy chest was heaving. Jake could see that because of the partially unbuttoned striped shirt the man was wearing. Hey, something's out there. What? There's something out there I saw. What's out there? I don't know. So what? Maybe it was a man. Yeah, but he was black. No shit. I'm black too, man. No, not like that. He was completely black. I'm completely black too. No, not like that. Look, about a mile from here, that way. Near the road. I saw it too. Look, I don't know what the two saw, but I ain't seen shit right. So with all due respect, please stop talking crazy stuff. Scaring the lady and her little daughter. He pointed towards the woman and child. They were close by. The woman was nice-looking brunette with long curly hair and had a decent physique. He was talking to her daughter, who also had brown hair and an angelic face. The little girl looked about 10 years old. Look, man, I think that what we've seen was just a trick. No, it wasn't. Look, I saw it moving. The lights in my car went out. I barely got here, man. Couldn't see a damn thing. Come on, man. Cut the bullshit. We're all trying to get through the night. So please, calm your ass down. Just after the clerk finished the sentence, the lights on the road went out. They all threw concerned looks towards the road. See what I mean? Are you people satisfied now? Oh, come on. Them lights weren't repaired in 100 years. Damn it. Alright, then I'm out of here. Whatever that thing was, it's coming. Hey, was it beside the big road sign? Sort of. It was further down the road, by the light post, not far away from the sign. The light wasn't on. Probably wasn't working. Anyway, I'm not sticking around much. Crept the fuck out of me. The guy's crazy. But deep down inside, Jake knew that the other man was right. Yeah, man, but haven't you said you seen it too? Look, honestly, I don't know what I've seen. Jake didn't like this. There was one more person who had seen the strange apparition, and there might have been something there after all. He didn't see it well, and didn't want to draw conclusions. Might have just been a prank by local kids. He remembered a story from the teens. What he saw earlier was eerily similar to that. A long time ago, he and a few friends cut a piece of cardboard in order to resemble an evil face. Then they folded it up, looked like a cylinder. After that, they glued a piece of cardboard to the top and one to the bottom. It resembled a jack-o'-lantern in the end. They cut a hole in the back, put a candle inside. Then they stuck the thing on a tree in the park, their hometown. After nightfall, a young boy and girl came to have some fun, where nobody could see them. When they noticed it, they got scared and ran away screaming. Jake smiled at the thought. He still saw their scared faces. It sure looked like one of those pranks. The woman and the girl just arrived at the counter, and the woman wanted to pay. Jake looked at the woman and her child. They both looked back at him, smiled. He did the same, then headed to the door. Don't even think about it, he thought. You don't deserve it. The little girl's face struck him. He resembled his late son, Clark. The girl had the same cheeks, very similar nose, and the look in her eyes, just like Clark's. She was smiling with her eyes too. She was beautiful. Her smile brought back some painful memories. These memories dated back 4 years, and Jake hated them as much as he hated himself. His wife and his son were no more because of him. Only death could save him, the guilt he was feeling. He didn't start a new life since their death. He couldn't. The road was his salvation when he wasn't working. Jake was driving because this way he'd avoid the damn bottle. He couldn't drink himself to death being behind the wheel. His life mattered little to him, and he didn't want to kill anybody else. Sometimes he was fantasizing about saving somebody else at the expense of his own life in order to die, at least, half at peace. Jake walked out the front door and saw the big guy driving out the station. He was driving an old pickup truck, and Jake was wondering how it was still in one piece and didn't fall apart 100 years ago. The man wasn't hesitating much. He must have stepped on the gas really hard because he was out of the road in no time. The fat man was speeding away, his decrepit excuse of a car, no working lights, and he disappeared behind the trees. He didn't get far, however, as Jake heard tires screeching and then loud crashing noise. Crashing noise was quickly followed by a harsh metallic one, then an elongated scream. Jake couldn't see anything because of the lush vegetation surrounding the station, but he knew it was bad. Rushed back inside right away. Hey, I think the big guy had an accident. All right, I'm coming right away, said the clerk. Grabbed the flashlight. He then ran outside, right behind Jake. The woman and the child remained inside. The woman didn't want her daughter to see anything related to an accident. Jake reached the man's fat car. It looked like the man tried to avoid something on the road. Something he saw too late. The car hit an enormous tree and now lay on the side of the road, smoking. The two men looked inside the car, but they couldn't see the driver. They saw right away that the steering wheel was bloody. It was an old car, so it most likely didn't have an airbag. I mean, even if it had one, it obviously wasn't working. They noticed that the right-hand door wasn't where it should have been. It was ripped out of its hinges and lying about 5 yards away between the trees. The impact didn't look so forceful for the door to be that far away. Even for a wreck of a car like a pickup truck, it appeared impossible. What the hell happened here? Look, man, I don't know. No sign of the fat dude. Both men then looked around the car and under it. The men even searched their surroundings, but they found nothing. Jake's guts twisting, turning. The sight of the red-eyed shape came back to him. If it were only for him to see it, it would have been fine. The really unnerving fact was that the fat guy had also seen something even closer to the station. What if that thing reached the station? Maybe the road lights turning off were a sign that it was here. Look, it's a mess, man. Yeah, but where the hell did he go? Look, I don't know, but let's not just stand here. I'm gonna call emergency. Yeah, that's a good idea because I heard a scream. That door, something took him. Yeah, man, something big. But I ain't gonna wait here to see it. Alright, man. Let's go. Let's get back inside. The men were heading back towards the station. Right before turning from the main road onto the driveway, they met the woman and her daughter. Hey, what are you doing? Not safe here. But Jake saw that they were both trembling. Mister, the lights went out. Yeah, thought it was strange, so we came outside. We didn't feel safe inside. We heard something. Yeah, there were sounds coming from the back. Alright, look, let's get back first, and we'll see. They all went back to the station. The clerk was in front with the flashlight. The girls were behind him, and Jake in the back. For a short time, he turned and walked backwards. He kept his eyes on the road, but couldn't see a thing. The night was still, and nothing moved on the moonlit road. Not a car passed as he arrived. It really did seem like an abandoned road. He was wondering why the owner of the gas station hadn't gone out of business. It seemed that the owner made little money out here. Jake turned, found himself staring at the woman's hips. He liked how they swayed. She wore tight jeans, which accentuated her curves. A thin jacket, made of some material which resembled leather, covered the upper body. Beautiful woman, thought Jake again, then looked away, distaste. The distaste was for him because he began fantasizing about some woman or people dying. In the end, he thought, primal urges always win. My name is Curtis, by the way. Hi, I'm Jenna. This is my daughter, Claire. Not the best circumstances to make friends, huh? Definitely not. I'm Jake. Nice to meet you. Alright, I'm gonna check the brake panel out back. Alright, Curtis. I'm staying here with the ladies. Curtis went around the building, and Jake remained with Jenna and Claire. The little girl was hugging her mother. Jenna was keeping her hand protectively over Claire's shoulder. Jake then crouched in front of the girl, smiled comfortably at her. She smiled back. How old are you, Claire? I'm 10. Well, Claire, me and Curtis are gonna find out what's happening, and then he couldn't finish because there was a loud curse coming from behind the building. Motherfucker. It was Curtis. Alright, stay here. Don't drive away because we don't know what's out there. Jake ran after Curtis and found him frozen, a blank stare on his face. When he turned toward the breaker panel, he saw what frightened the clerk. Blood and brains covered the panel surrounding wall. That guy's body was on the ground near the panel. His face was gone, along with about half of his head. Now they understood why there was no light at the station. The thing that took the man from his pickup truck brought him here, bashed his head to a bloody pulp on the breaker panel, which got damaged. What the hell? Asked Jake. He couldn't really say anything else. Look, this is why we got no electricity. Panel's broken. I'm calling 911. Jake and Curtis then ran back to the girls. They could see right away that something was wrong. What's wrong? Nothing. Come on, come inside, said Jake as calmly as possible. Oh, wait. What happened back there? Look, let's just go inside, please. The girls obeyed, and after they entered, they saw Curtis frantically buttoning his phone. Could somebody please tell me what's wrong? Jake then took her by the hand and pulled her away from Claire, and quickly told her about the body. She gasped in fright, but tried to muffle it with her hand. Jake told her they would try to call the authorities, solve the problem, without Claire knowing much of it. Protecting the little girl was imperative. He didn't want her to be traumatized at such an early age. Damn. My signal is bad. Here, let me try the landline. Picked up the phone, dialed 911. Then waited. Somebody picked it up, then line went dead. After a few more times, it worked again. The line didn't go dead right away, so you could speak to some extent, but then it went dead again. Did it work? I don't know. I talked to an operator, but I'm not sure she could hear me right. Let's hope they received at least where we are. So what now? We wait. For what? Can't even be sure if help is on the way or not. Because the thing that did, Jake began, then realized it is a mistake and stopped mid-sentence. What thing? Nothing, honey. Could you please help Curtis find what he was looking for? Yeah, sure. Look, sorry for scaring your daughter, but going away is risky. We don't know what's out there. Then why is waiting here a better option? That thing could be anywhere, even inside. Yeah, I know. But I saw the fat guy drive away. Now he's dead, alright? Looks like we don't have a right option. No, not really. The only sure thing is that being outside is deadly. Also, there has to be something with the lights. Yo, what do you mean? The road outside is not well lit. Damn politicians ain't want to fix shit here. Yes, I know. The thing is, when the fat guy left, his lights weren't working. Yeah, he told us, man. I remember now, but what's your point? Yeah, what's with the lights? He also said his lights went out when he saw something on the roadside. I saw it too. When I got close to it, the lights went downright crazy. You mean like in the horror movies? I don't like horror movies. Yeah, something like that. And that thing, it was not human. You listening to yourselves? Really? Horror movies? Monsters? You two must have smoked something. Alright, come with me. Excuse me? Look, just come with me. I'll show you something. I won't hurt you, don't worry. Alright. Watch my daughter, Curtis. Yes, ma'am, no problem. Jake took a flashlight from Curtis and led the way outside. He knew it wasn't a good idea at all, but he also wanted to make sure that Jenna understood the situation they were in. They went back to where the breaker panel was, along with the dead man. What the fuck? What? What's wrong? There should have been a dead body here. Oh my God, said Jenna, and her hands jumped to her mouth. The bloodstains were still there. Bits of brain were still plastered to the panel. It looked like something bashed the poor man's head against the panel with substantial force. Oh my God. Is that? Looks like a tongue? They stared for a second at the fat man's tongue, which laid in a small puddle of blood a few yards from the panel. Jake noticed that the bloodstains on the ground continued all the way towards the forest. He shone his light on the ground where the body used to be, and traced the blood-red streak till it disappeared into the darkness of the trees. That thing dragged the body into the woods. Yeah, but why? I don't know. Maybe to eat it? Maybe. I don't know. But why leave it here first? Take it away later. Jake froze after his light beam fell on something he didn't see before. He gasped, and Jenna threw a half-frightened, half-worried look at him. What's that? They went closer in order to see what made the man stare, so dumbfounded, at the ground. There, on the decades of old asphalt, near the bloody drag marks, a name was painted on the ground. Jake couldn't believe his eyes. The moment he saw the bloody name on the ground, he knew that tonight's events aren't random. They have something to do with him. When he was pondering the implications, Jenna interrupted him. Clark? Who the hell is Clark? He was my son. Was? He died. I'm sorry. Yeah, thanks. Let's get back to... Then a loud scream interrupted him. It was Claire. Couldn't have been anybody else. Oh no, Clara! Shouted Jenna, and ran back towards the front of the station. Jake followed. A stream of light illuminating the driveway from inside. It looked like somebody was searching for something. Mommy? It's alright, honey, I'm here. What happened? A monster wanted to take me. Curtis chased it away. Hey, y'all need to get inside. They followed the clerk's instructions and hurried in. He was trembling from head to toe. His chest was heaving, flashlight in his right hand was shaking. What happened? He said she wanted some candy, you know. So I let her search for candy. She wandered away, then I heard the scream, so I ran to her. She was by the big glass wall in the front. I pointed the light to her, then I saw the thing we were talking about behind her. Jenna held her hands to her chest like she was having a heart attack. She felt relieved because Clara was still alive, but she also knew that her daughter's life had almost been ended. Alright, then what happened next? It disappeared. It dissolved in the thin air. I can't explain it. I couldn't see much, but it was big, man. The light made it go away like you've said before. Will the monster come back, Mommy? I don't know, honey. All I know is that we will not let it hurt you, alright? The girl just nodded and buried her head into her mother's shirt. He didn't want to let her go. Jenna really wanted to protect her daughter. What kind of mother wouldn't? The problem was, he didn't know how. He had to rely on the two men who were as lost as she was. Yeah, doesn't like light. That's why he took out the breaker panel. And that's why it could scare the fat guy. His lights weren't working. Yo, the fat dude said his lights were out when he passed the thing on the road. You passed it too, but your lights are working, right? Yeah, I think so. When I passed the thing the first time, my lights flickered, my radio went nuts. It all returned to normal though, after I got further down the road. How come your lights were still working? I don't have the vaguest idea. Your lights were okay when you were on the road, right? Yes, but I came from the opposite direction. Okay. So, we don't know what the hell this thing is. So we better make sure that we are surrounded by light all the time. How many flashlights do we have? We have 4. One is mine, the other's yours, and we still have 2 extra. Jake took one of the lights and gave it to Jenna. He took it and looked in his eyes with compassion, but also some hope. Jake seemed to her like a man who could save her, Clara. Not that Curtis seemed less capable to her, but he saw something in Jake. He didn't know for sure what it was. Maybe she saw in his eyes that he wouldn't hesitate a second to save him. Hey Curtis, have you seen anything unusual here lately? Anything which might explain all this? Yo, look, I'm working here for a month or so. Not sure as hell I ain't seen anything crazy going on. It round here and get weird until your ass showed up last night. Jake lowered his head. He was thinking. Maybe these events are truly tied to him somehow. But he couldn't understand how. I don't know, Curtis. Let's just get through the night, okay? Let's do it, man. Hopefully our batteries are gonna last. Aren't you selling flashlights here? Jenna asked, perplexed. No, ma'am. This was the same question I asked the boss when I'm coming here to work. He said that he plans to sell them in the future, but not yet. Business strategy, you know. Or lack of them. Shit, Jake exclaimed after their flashlights went out. Darkness enveloped them, and they felt icy fingers crawling up their backs. Clara hugged her mother more tightly. The two men tried desperate moves to restart the lights, but it was futile. Just when they thought it was all over, they heard sirens. Soon, a police cruiser turned onto the driveway with its blue and red lights whirling around. People inside the station died in relief. Finally, they had been rescued, and the ordeal was over. At least, this is what they thought. Better stated, this is what they all wanted to be true. The car didn't get too close because its siren and lights went dead in an instant. The driver tried to start the engine a few more times, but was unsuccessful. He also tried the radio, but it was dead. Jake opened the front door and was heading out to meet the police officers, but then halted in his tracks. To his right, between the tall bushes, he saw something moving. At first, he thought it was something in the wind, but no, it had an abnormal form. A tall, dark shape emerged onto the driveway. It had no visible features, only an outline. Otherwise, it was complete blackness. Outside was dark, but the visibility was still acceptable because the sky wasn't clouded. The faint moonlight somewhat illuminated the surroundings. Other than that, there was nothing else. No lights were working, but the sheer blackness of the creature was still obvious. It looked tall, about 8 or 9 feet, and had wings. They resembled the wings of a bat, only much larger, and they were only retracted. The creature also had 2 horns, jutting forward from its forehead, which then curled upwards. They couldn't see any facial features. Its hands were long and ended in thin fingers, pointy claws. The creature's legs were like that of a bird or a bat. Digitigrade, but with long fingers and claws. The only feature which stood out, the blackness, were the eyes. Brown and red, positioned in front of the face like those of humans. They were looking straight at the cruiser. Jake told the others to stay inside and began signaling the officers to watch out. He was waving both his hands frantically, shouting. He knew that this was his most idiotic thing he could do, but didn't want to have more people on his conscience. His wife and son were enough for him. Watch out! Watch out! To your left! The creature was already marching towards the car. Those inside surely noticed Jake signaling and approached the menace, because both front doors were opened with force. The driver couldn't get out because as soon as the door opened, the black thing made a tremendous leap and landed beside the car. This was when Jenna took her daughter and rushed to the back of the station. He didn't want her to witness anything of what was going to happen. What the fuck? Came the panicked shout from the police officer as the creature grabbed the door and ripped it off like it was nothing. The passenger side female officer jumped out and fell on her butt while screaming terror. Her colleague, the driver, managed to somehow pull out his sidearm and began firing. Didn't matter. The thing was not even flinching as the bullets went right through it. Jake assumed that the shots could have been off target because of the distance between the shooter and the monster was only about 6 feet. Jake was standing there, transfixed, as the black thing, with raging red eyes, got hold of the police officer and yanked him out of the car. And then, a terrorizing roar spread its wings. It was one hell of a sight. The creature's wingspan was at least 10 yards, maybe even more. The police officer was alive and screaming, but he couldn't do much against the winged darkness. It jumped in the air, then, with a mighty flap of its wings, it got even higher. Then, each consecutive flap got further and further until it disappeared in the night sky with its prey. Come here! Hey, officer! Jake was trying to get the attention of the policewoman who was still lying on the ground. She looked at him, and Jake saw the fear in her eyes. Maybe she's in shock, thought Jake. He was right. The officer's look was lost and confused. Her eyes showed panic. Jake extended his arm, and only after calling to her a few times did she wake up from her stupor. Hey, come with me. It's not safe here. All right. He helped her get inside the station. And when Jake opened the front door, a beam of light hit his face. What's that? Oh, sorry. Looks like the flashlights are working again. What the hell is that thing, man? I can't believe this shit. Yeah, me either. But I don't know what it is. Looks like a bat straight out of hell. Are we going to survive this night? Jenna asked as she glanced at Jake. He only sighed. He didn't have an answer for that. After witnessing the formidable abilities of whatever the winged thing was, he wasn't sure at all if they survived. Deep in his guts, he felt that they can't fight this thing, and neither can they run away. Jake put these thoughts aside and wanted to do something. The sight of the crying little girl and the look on her mother's face broke his heart. Look, we have to do something, man. I know, Curtis. Thinking. Look, all we know is that its weakness is light. And it can interfere with electronics. Yo, that's right. Problem is that we need electronics to have lights. I sure ain't starting no campfire here. Okay, but what about the generator? Don't you have some kind of backup generator for emergencies? I don't know. As I said, I've been working here for a month. They don't show me much when I started. There is a generator, said the policewoman. The others just looked at her without saying a word, like she was some kind of alien. They almost forgot she even existed. She was young, close to 30, but not yet there. Her long blonde hair was tied up in a ponytail, and her otherwise harmonious face were now contorted under the pressure of fear and shock. She was sitting on the floor with her back to the counter, hands on her knees and head down. Sorry, ma'am. Are you sure? Yes, my name is Sarah. My brother used to work here. He had told me that he had to use the generator once because of a power outage. And do you know where it might be? Because I ain't see it around here. Somewhere in the back. I don't know. Might be in the equipment room. Go check. Alright, I'm gonna go check it out. Alright, I'll come with you, Curtis. Can you, take care of the girls? Yes, of course. I think I'm okay now. Just go. The two men rushed out, lighting their way with flashlights. Curtis was leading Jake to the back where they had found the body of the fat guy. The toilets were here, and also a small room for different tools and equipment. Curtis fumbled a little with the key, but soon the door opened, and they were greeted by a dirty and cluttered rectangular room. The smell of dust and gasoline hit their nose right away. Alright, let's see what we have here. As Curtis and Jake began searching. After a few minutes, they found it. It was a small, portable generator. It worked on gasoline, and it wasn't the thing they were hoping to find, but it was better than nothing. Look, I have to find some gas to fill this baby up, but we'll see if it's working or not. I really hope it's gonna work. Yeah, Jake, we'll see about that. Look at this, man. A searchlight. We could use this, baby. Yeah, damn right, said Jake, and inspected the object, which was larger than a flashlight and had a long cable attached to it. Their flashlights flickered wildly, switched off. 3 screams erupted from the front, and the lights switched back on. They both got startled by the sounds, and Curtis darted for the door with a panther's agility. No, said Jake. We'll need light as soon as possible. All right, man, go, Curtis replied, and his hands were already shaking. Jake ran to the front to see what had happened. When he reached the entrance and looked to the glass wall, he almost screamed himself. The upper torso of a man was crawling towards him, fixed eyes on Jake. Sarah was standing in the doorway without a clue about what he should do. Jenna was inside. She was cradling her daughter, so she doesn't see horrible events. The mangled body was inching towards Drake, and he didn't have a clue what to do. He recognized him by the uniform. He was the taken police officer. More correctly, the remaining half of him. His first thought was that he should help the man, but something told him that this shouldn't be happening. Not normal for a man to crawl who knows how much after he's ripped, too. The shock and blood loss must be extreme in cases. He remembered an event which he witnessed as younger. It taught him for life that he should not play the speed limits. Years ago, a young man was racing like crazy in his new motorbike. Parents just bought him the bike because it was his birthday. The guy lost control of the bike, side of a car, and flew sideways straight to a pole. His body cut in 2 pieces. Poor bastard was still alive for a few seconds because of the adrenaline. He tried to crawl to his lower body, somehow put it back. The paramedics lifted him up. All his insides had fallen onto the ground. Jake saw his eyes was crawling to gather up his guts. They didn't look like the eyes of this man. These were evil, resolute. His suspicions became reality. The crawling torso spoke in an almost feminine voice. Why did you let us die? Jake backed up a few steps with his mouth hanging open. He couldn't believe the voice he was hearing. It's your fault, Jake. It's all your fault. Jake kept looking at the corpse, then to Sarah, who was still standing in the doorway. Her face showed bewilderment, fright. He looked at Jake for answers because she knew that he had some. At least this was she concluded when looking at his face, which betrayed any feelings. Hey, come inside. Jake couldn't say a word. Old feelings rushed back to him like a torrent. The floodgates had been opened. That which was just slowly flowing through recently healed cracks came down on him again, bathing him in a shower of sorrow. He crashed to the ground and hid his face in his hands. Sarah hurried to him, bent down to the grieving man, put her hand over his shoulder. Come on, don't do this. We need you. I killed them. You didn't kill anybody. Now come inside, will you? The man woke up from his stupor, got up. Sarah led him back inside the station. His legs were barely obeying him. His mind was in some other place, a dark place. After Sarah brought Jake back inside, Sarah and Jenna looked at him, questioning him. What was that? How could that man still be alive? I don't know. He wasn't. What do you mean? He couldn't have been alive. It was just a sick game played by us, by that wingman thing. But what about the voice? That voice was not him, I tell you. But whose voice was it? Tell me that voice has something to do. Yes, it has. It was my wife's voice. Almost. Your wife? Yes. She died 4 years ago, along with my son, Clark. Oh. Really sorry to hear that. But I don't understand what that's got to do with what's happening tonight. I don't either, believe me. So, what's the story? Well, the fucked up story is I was married and had a son. He was 10 years old. He looked very much like your daughter Clara. What happened to him? Asked Clara. Well, our relationship wasn't that good, you know. So, I sought some fun elsewhere. You know what I mean? Yeah, you cheated on her. Yes, that's right. And there's not a single fucking day on this earth when I don't regret doing that. She found out eventually. We had those unavoidable arguments, then filed for divorce. Got divorced, got custody, but I got to see my son at least. What happened then? One night, they went to their grandmother's. It was a night like this. We were driving on an abandoned country road. She was tired, found herself face to face with a truck. Couldn't avoid it. My God, I'm sorry, said Sarah. Yeah, me too. Every damn day. The weird thing is that Clark found himself almost all his head missing, several yards away in the forest. Some wild animal dragged him from the wreck. Just like the body of the first victim. Was there a first victim? Asked Sarah. Yes, replied Jenna. The back. And what about the next one? When the emergency services found my wife, only her upper half was left in one piece. The engine was pushed forward, and it crushed everything from her waist down. Ah, I see now. You think that these events have something to do with that? Definitely. I don't know how, but they are related. If I hadn't cheated on her, they could still be alive. Look, it wasn't your fault, said Sarah. Yeah, cheating on her wasn't an agreeable thing, but their death wasn't your fault. Yeah, my mind keeps telling me that. But what is burning in here, telling me otherwise. Hey, where's Curtis? Oh, damn it. I left him in the back. Alright, look, stay here. When he reached the equipment room, he saw that the door is ajar, but there was no sign of Curtis. The generator and the reflector had been pulled into the doorway. It looked like he was trying to get it to the front, but then something happened. Damn it. Damn it, damn it, Jake shouted, and he began searching the surroundings for Curtis. His heart was racing. He didn't want to lose Curtis. In fact, he didn't want to lose anybody. He wanted to make sure that they all survived. But it seemed that it is not a plausible task. Jake kept calling for Curtis, but no answer came. Only the eerie sounds of the night greeted him. Crickets were chirping endlessly in the forest, and from deep within the woods, owl hooted. A harbinger of death, he thought briefly. Is this his destiny? One minor mistake, and then only pain and suffering? He didn't deserve this, he thought. Not this much, at least. Others shouldn't pay with their lives just because he was stupid once. Having had no success in finding Curtis, he took the generator and the searchlight, took them to the front. When he reached the front door, the woman already knew that Curtis was gone. Did you find him? No, there wasn't a single sign of him. Oh no, we're going to die one by one? Mommy, I don't want to die. I'm sorry, honey, I didn't mean it. Mommy's just scared, that's all. We'll figure something out soon and we'll go home, alright? We really have to do something, said Sarah, because this thing is going to kill us all. I don't want to scare anybody, but we have to get out of here. I agree, Sarah, but what the hell can we do? We don't know where that thing is. We don't know how we can stop it. Alright, look, let's start the generator so we have some light. And we wait until morning. I have no better idea. Alright, I'll try to start it. He took the generator further inside and switched it on. It was working fine. He then connected the searchlight to the generator. After switching it on, bright light filled the place. It was much more powerful than their flashlights. The steady roaring of this generator's sound was a welcoming one. Ah, great. It's working, exclaimed Jenna. Yeah, let's hope the gas is gonna last. Alright, Sarah, so now what? Jake then said, now we wait. We'll have a few more hours till sunrise. They all gathered close to one another and waited. The light was comforting. Jake checked from time to time the generator to see the level of gasoline. The machine was eating up the gas at a steady state, but it seemed that it will last till sunrise. For an hour or so, nothing happened. Clara was sleeping in her mother's arms. Jenna was sleeping too. Sarah and Jake were awake. They sipped from the bottle from time to time. Not too much though, so they won't get drunk. The two of them talking in a low voice about many things. After some uneasy shuffling, Clara woke up and began waking up her mother. Mommy, I need to pee. Yeah, all right. I need to pee too. Hey, you two shouldn't go alone, said Sarah. Don't worry, I'll go with them. Look, I'm coming too. I also have to use the bathroom, and it's better if we all go together. Damn whiskey. Drink on the job. Alright, let's try to make it quick. Take the flashlights with us. At least we'll know when it comes. They took the flashlights, switched them on. They were working fine. The trip to the back to the station was uneventful. After all of them finished what they had to do, Jake started leading them back inside. Then the light from inside went out, and they heard a few clattering sounds. The flashlights flickered again. Sign, something bad happening. Something not natural. Sarah unholstered her sidearm, and Jake could hear sighing deeply. They were standing at the corner of the building. What do we do now? Asked Sarah. I don't want to die, Mommy. Don't worry, honey. I'm here. Alright, let's check, said Jake. A winged creature couldn't have done it. It hates the light. They all inched their way around the corner. The entrance was only a few feet away. After a brief glance inside, they saw that there was nothing moving. Only suspicious thing was the light was not working. Sarah opened the door, then went inside. Jake followed, and after him, Jenna, Clara. They waited here for some seconds and listened. Nothing moved. Everything was still. Jake inched towards the generator, which lay broken on the floor. It looked like something took a sledgehammer to it and broke it into pieces. Gasoline was lying on the ground in a great pool. Who's there? Shouted Sarah. What? Something moved there. Wait, said Jake. A faint rustling came from the back, but they couldn't see anything because of the overwhelming darkness. The smell of spilled gasoline was heavy in the air. They had to be careful not to do something stupid, ignite it accidentally. Sarah and Jake took careful steps towards the back. This was when they heard the flapping of heavy wings from outside. Both of them turned towards a glass wall, but couldn't see a thing. They were between shelves anyway, and it was dark too. The flapping came once again from the outside. Sarah was shaking, and the gun in her hands was rattling as her hands trembled. Jenna and Clara moved back from the front wall. The next moment, Jake heard Sarah scream. He turned and saw her being grabbed by something. She screamed again as a black figure bit into her neck. Jake jumped to help her. That was when he saw that the black figure was Curtis. Or was he? He looked up and growled. Blood was gushing from Sarah's neck. It bit through the jugular. Jake knew in an instant what that had meant. He only had about half a minute to live. Jake grabbed the hand which was around Sarah's neck and then punched Curtis in the face. Curtis drew back, loosened his grip. Sarah slid out. With her remaining strength, turned and fired 2 times. The bullets hit their target in the chest, and Curtis tumbled back. He fell, hitting a shelf with his back, and fell on his butt. There was no blood coming from the wounds. You're all gonna die. Curtis, man, what's wrong with you? But Jake knew Wasn't talking to Curtis. You let me die, just like you let the police officer die. Just like you let the fat man die. Just like you let... Shut up. This is what you're telling your demons when they won't be silent. Your demons have come alive, Jake. They will not stop until you are dead. Don't you see? Everything is your fault. Do everybody a favor and just fucking die, you pathetic shit. Curtis's head lolled, and he didn't move anywhere. Jake was looking at him, stunned. The bad part was that he believed Curtis. Jake now saw clearly what these events meant. He looked at Sarah, who was on the ground, clutching at the wound on her neck. Quickly tore off his piece of shirt, folded it up, and pressed it on her wound. He was determined not to let Sarah die. He didn't deserve it. The only one who deserved to die was him. Jenna came to the side. Clara stood a few feet behind them. Oh my God, you going to make it? I don't know. What happened to Curtis? Why did he attack Sarah? I don't know. Somehow that creature can control people after they die. I can't believe this. Me neither. But I have to end it. Sarah gasped, and she grabbed Jake by the sleeve of his jacket. Save. I won't make it. Save them, please. No, you won't die. You can't die. It didn't matter. Sarah was already drifting away. Some seconds later, he didn't breathe anymore. The wound on her neck, too big, and the blood seeped out anyway. Jake was furious and grief-stricken. Is this all really his fault? How can that be? All this because of a past mistake? He took Sarah's sidearm from her lifeless hand and checked it. It was a revolver, and it still had 4 bullets in it. After checking her pockets, he found some more bullets and replaced the 2 missing. He looked at Jenna, then to her daughter. These 2 will make it out alive. He would do everything in his power to save him. Jake, what are you gonna do? Going to end it. Gasoline, which had flown out of the generator, gave him an idea. He went to one of the shelves